Your Clemson Tigers sitting at 3-4 right now on the 2025 season. The South Carolina Gamecocks 3-5. It seems like, Cole, there's still a chance Clemson makes a bowl. It's going to be tough for South Carolina to achieve that very same thing. But they do both have one very good thing going for them right now. Both fan bases at the moment, this could change in a heartbeat, both fan bases want the guy that they have in place right now to salvage things and be the ones to turn it around. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson. My name is Diesel. You Tolos who are watching on the stream, welcome. Thanks for joining the show. Dabo Swinney is still beloved among the Clemson fan base. Shane Beamer still beloved among the South Carolina fan base, though it seems like that is slipping just a little bit. Tom in Somerville, he's already ready to pull the plug. But Cole, they are both in a position where even though the seasons have been disappointing, and Shane Beamer has had multiple disappointing seasons in South Carolina, the fan bases generally want those two guys to stick around. That is not the case for a lot of programs in college football. We've seen LSU and Penn State fire coaches that have had good records this season and really good records over the last couple of seasons. But I think that's what separates Clemson and South Carolina from many of the other schools. There's not a toxicity in the fan base to this point. But I wonder, Cole, is there a school where you could swing that pendulum in the other direction and say they could use a little more toxicity in their fan base right now? And I have the clear and present answer, and the answer is NC State and Dave Doeren. Dave Doeren was asked in his media availability yesterday about the pressure of a year-end decision looming, saying, I don't worry about that. And I believe him.
Yeah, I think real quick, the comment on the Beamer and Dabo part of it before we dive into the Dave Doeren aspect, I do believe you're right in the sense that both programs, as of right now, like you said, have the guy that they want, Diesel. But I think what's interesting is it kind of goes back to what we talked about yesterday. The reason for that, in my mind, not the sole reason, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're both a good fit. And we talked about it yesterday. A good fit is not the end-all, be-all. Does it matter? Sure, it matters. Is it the key, the guide to success and winning a national championship? Maybe it's not the sole factor, but I do think it's important. And I think, to your point, a lot of the reason that a lot of these fans want Dabo to get this ship back on track, and why a lot of Gamecock fans want Beamer to be the guy that does figure this out and does bring them consistency and does do what no coach has ever done at South Carolina and be consistent and win consistently. I think a lot of that has to do with they're likable guys. They're from the area-ish. Like, they're not from, Ohio. They're not from Southern California. They're likable. They're a good fit. They're from the area. Dabo's from the South. Beamer has a lot of ties to the area. He's one of their guys. He coached there. So, again, I think a lot of it has to do with them being a good fit. And for that reason, I think a large part of the fan base wants to hold on to him.
Oh, man. Are we saying that Dabo Swinney and Shane Beamer are just a couple of old pair of jeans that fit just right? They might have a couple holes in them. They might be a little stretched out here, might be a little stretched out there, a little worn down, some fraying on the cuff. But by God, they fit just right on a day that you need them to fit.
You want them to win. You want them to be there. They represent the program well, right? They say the right things. They do the right things. They're good coaches, but ultimately it's two different scenarios. And then the Dave Doeren aspect of it's interesting because that guy, it seems like, has no pressure on him because it feels like he's been there for a long time now.
Well, it looks like NC State is probably going to finish this season 6-6. Currently sitting at 4-4 with wins over East Carolina, Virginia, Wake Forest, and Campbell. Losses at Duke, against Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, and Pitt. Sitting at 4-4. The remaining schedule is Georgia Tech, Miami, Florida State, and North Carolina. And right now, Cole, I easily see a 2-2 split. At worst, they're going 1-3. They're going to beat North Carolina. That's a given.
You would think, right?
Florida State, I don't know at this point. Florida State sucks just as bad as they do. And they're going to lose to Georgia Tech at home, and they're going to lose to Miami on the road. I think if they acquit themselves well in those games against Georgia Tech and Miami, both of them top 10 teams. Let's say both of those games are 10-point or less affairs, and then Dave Doeren goes on and finds a way to beat Florida State and North Carolina. I think they extend him. And that is I know, that is a really sad place for a fan base to be. That is a fan base that's okay with mediocrity. And that is what I caution you South Carolina Gamecock fans into not being. Don't end up like NC State that keeps extending Dave Doeren. The big difference between Dave Doeren and Shane Beamer is that Shane Beamer's a likable guy. I don't know anybody who says, oh, Dave Doran's a warm and fuzzy guy. He's easy to hang out with. He's certainly somebody you want to pull up a bar stool next to and share a beer with. But I don't – the ACC has the biggest problem possible is that there's a tremendous amount of apathy and there's a tremendous amount of settling for mediocrity in that conference. Dave Doeren, 91-69 at NC State, 48-54 in conference in his 13th season. He's achieved 4 9-win seasons. He's had 3 losing seasons. The rest have been just kind of right there in the middle. And that is a depressing place for a fan base to be. We talked about the unhealthiness of LSU and Penn State and a little bit of Florida too, though I understand Florida and Billy Napier's results were not the same as what those other 2 schools had. They are unhealthy because they demand perfection to the point if you're not winning national championships, you're fired. But with NC State, they just demand 7 and 5.
Yeah, and I think it's so tough. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine this morning, Diesel, who's a South Carolina fan, and I think it all comes down to what's expected out of the program, and I don't know that the powers that be at NC State really care that NC State's competing for a national championship. I don't know that it's realistic that they're ever competing for a national championship. Could they be good again with the transfer portal and NIL? Sure, they could do kind of what Vanderbilt's done and rise from the ashes of the conference. But NC State, do they look at football as a valued commodity? I don't know that they do, Diesel, and that might be part of the problem. You're just talking about a program that hadn't been good since, 2002? Talking about recent success, there has been none. So you're talking about a program that's been irrelevant. Dave Doeren was hired, I guess, to bring them to relevancy. And a couple of times he got on the fringe, right? They were good. They were going toe-to-toe with Clemson a few years ago, but there was never that C word. There was never consistency.
I genuinely cannot remember who was the head coach of NC State before Dave Doeren.
Chuck Amato was
13
there.
13 years. Was it Chuck?
I don't know how long Chuck was there for. Dave Doeren,
heard that name in a while.
Dave Doeren was hired in 13. No. Dave Doeren was hired in 12, which makes this his 13th season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Chuck Amato was there all the way up until 2000 without looking. He was there when they were good. I'll tell you that. That's the last time I can remember NC State being good was Chuck Amato. I don't remember. They were 11-3 one year under Chuck. I don't remember the last.
Tom O'Brien was there.
Before?
For 5 years before
Dave,
before Dave.
And after Chuck, I guess.
Yeah, it was Dave Doeren, Tom O'Brien, Chuck Amato, Mike O'Kane, Dick Sheridan, Monty Kiffin was there. Lou Holtz was their head coach from 72 to 75. The reason why I bring all of this up, Cole, and some Tolos may be saying, we're here in Clemson territory. We're in South Carolina territory. Why are we talking about NC State and the ACC? The reason I bring it up, Cole, is I hope, and I hope and pray and predict, hopefully, that the ACC programs see all of these elite head coaches being fired and put their arms out wide. Say, hey, guys, come on in over here. The water is fine. Could you imagine a world where you got Billy Napier and you got Brian Kelly and you got James Franklin all taking jobs in the ACC where their only pressure is to get to 9 wins. And some of them can pop, some of them can go even farther. I said yesterday on the show that I think North Carolina, I know this whole situation with Bill Belichick would take some time to figure out. I don't know that that Brian Kelly is going to jump right back into head coaching right away.
Yeah. But
a year from now, 2 years from now, I could see Bill Belichick gone from North Carolina at the time. And again, I do think that Brian Kelly's personality fits perfectly at the University of North Carolina. So put him there, put James Franklin at Virginia Tech, Take Billy Napier and put him at NC State, or hire any one of the coaches that we've been saying forever need to get head coaching jobs. Jamie frickin' Chadwell. Put Jamie Chadwell at NC State. Those three coaches on top of Fran Brown at Syracuse,
yeah, I like Fran,
and Brent Key down at Georgia Tech, and Dabo Sweeney at Clemson, and whoever's going to replace Mike Norvell. Now you've got a highly competitive league that is not a laughingstock in college football anymore.
So here's where I would go with that to kind of answer your question of why that's not happening. Maybe the reason that I have Diesel is not a valid reason, but here's where I'll go. I'll make this illustration when it comes to those high-powered, sought-after head coaches, why they're not coming to the ACC. I'll use a high school football illustration that you and I have talked about a lot on this show with Spartanburg County and high school football and Greenville County and high school football, right? You even asked this question of me and Brock Hamrick a couple of weeks ago when we were talking high school football when it comes to Greenville County starting to get a lot better when it comes to high school football in the upstate. Mm-hmm. You would not see a lot of Spartanburg County coaches, even assistants, leave Spartanburg County back in the day to go coach at a Greenville County high school. Now, this narrative, Diesel, is obviously changing because Greenville County is starting to get really good. There's really good coaches. There's really good players, etc. However, high school coaches wouldn't leave Spartanburg County to go to Greenville County because of one thing. They're not going to get the support in Greenville County that they were going to get in Spartanburg County because Spartanburg County for so long was known for their stadiums, their facilities in high school football, the tradition, the winning, yada, yada, yada. Now, that narrative is changing in a major way in Greenville County. There are a lot of good teams right here in Greenville County at the high school level. But I use that illustration because I think it's similar. Is a James Franklin or is let's say Brian Kelly going to be able to go to Virginia Tech and get the same amount of support at Virginia Tech that he demands in order to bring them to national relevance? I'm not talking about enough support to win games. I'm talking about the bucks, the big bucks, enough support to take them and go get the best players because it's a bidding war now, Diesel. You're bidding on the best talent in college football. Are those ACC programs going to give those big-time coaches enough support? I don't know that the answer is yes quite yet.
There was a time, Cole, when the SEC was a laughingstock of college basketball. It was Kentucky and it was everybody else.
That's right.
Right.
LSU was good like once every 10 years.
Right. But Kentucky was basically the only team with a pulse, the only program with a pulse in that conference year after year after year. Yeah, Texas was, this is before Texas was even in the SEC. Mm-hmm. Florida had its run as well. So it was Florida, it was Kentucky, and everybody else. And then all of these programs at once all decided we have to start investing in basketball coaches. We have to come up with the money. We have to do whatever it takes to get elite level coaches into the SEC. And then it pulled all that power away from the ACC. Remember, ACC was the conference of elite head coaches. All the coaches wanted to be at ACC schools. And then slowly but surely, they all moved over to the SEC, the elite head coaches of the game. I think the ACC has a prime opportunity. Their choices are either do it, invest the money, or continue to fade into irrelevance and get farther and farther out of the picture of what really matters and put themselves in a position where, Clemson and Florida State and who at one or two more, they're going to head off to big-time conferences, and the ACC is going to go the way of the Pac-12. I don't want to see that. You don't want to see that.
No.
The listeners don't want to see that. We remember the tradition and the pageantry of the ACC of the last 40 years, 50 years, especially in basketball. We don't want to see the ACC become the Pac-12 and what it is now with a collection of Mountain West schools.
Yeah, and I'm with you. You look at North Carolina, even of what they're attempting to do, Diesel, with Bill Belichick. Like, they've got Bill Belichick coaching, the greatest coach in the history of the NFL, arguably.
That was a stunt, in my opinion, from day one.
But my point being, you're trying to go get good coaches. This is kind of proving my point, what I'm making. You go get good coaches all you want. But if you don't put the full investment, the full backing behind the program, you're going to have just that. You're going to have a washed-up coach with his hot girlfriend on the sideline, and it's going to be, what, to your point, a laughing stock, a stunt, a comedy show, and a team that's won, 2 or 3 ball games this year. So that's my point. You can go get all the big name coaches you want and take them to the ACC and put them in Blacksburg and put them in, wherever. You name the ACC city, but you go look at why Clemson's been successful. Go look at why Miami's turning the page and all of a sudden has a really good football team. Go look at what Florida State, they had the full support more than just the head coach.
Well, I think if you bring in head coaches, it generates all new revenue opportunities that you haven't had before. Look at the money that's come into North Carolina and the money that they attempted to bring into North Carolina, all just because Bill Belichick was the head football coach, right? I mean, something's got to be the catalyst, and it's not going to be, hey, let's bring in a good FCS coach or a good G5 coach, and we're going to convince our donors and our base to all of a sudden throw a ton of money at him. It's a chicken or the egg scenario. You have to invest first in an elite head coach. You invest in that coach, as well as I do. Anytime you hire a great new head coach, all of a sudden donors who never gave any money, they're coming out of the woodworks to throw, a couple $1,000, $10,000, they're the ones that have real money. They're throwing $50,000, $100,000, $500,000 at these programs. You put Brian Kelly, maybe Brian Kelly is not the best example because who's going to open their wallets to throw extra money at Brian Kelly? But if you were to put James Franklin in Blacksburg, you're telling me that Virginia Tech fans, an engineering school, engineers have money, by the way. You telling me engineers are not going to come out of the woodworks to throw money in a James Franklin-led Virginia Tech team? And that's one of those things that trickles out from the programs that start at first. Somebody's got to be the first one to make this attempt. Somebody's got to be the first one to make that splash higher. And when you do it, Virginia Tech does it. All of a sudden, the folks down in Raleigh say, oh, man, look at them. They're having all this success up there because they went and hired James Franklin. And then it trickles down to whoever. I mean, I know Duke feels like they've got their guy in Manny Diaz. And it feels like there might be a few head coaches that are starting to get themselves entrenched and starting to have some success. Tony Elliott at Virginia. I mean, who saw those teams coming along and being the power of the ACC? But those traditional programs that have tried to go on the cheap, tried to get cute, tried to throw it on third down at the 5-yard line instead of running a power play. You know what the power play is? Go get somebody that gets headlines.
You've got to have, to your point, you've got to have the right guy. I completely agree with that. Having the right fit's important, but it's just like I said yesterday, Diesel. I don't remember what we were talking about, but you've got to have the support and the willingness for your destination to spend money on other things outside of just you. Because we've seen in Chapel Hill that hiring the good coach is not the simple solution. People thought it might be, North Carolina has Bill Belichick now. Everything's good. They're off to the races. Everything's fine. That's just simply not the case. So, yeah, I'm with you. You've got to start somewhere. You've got to have something in place to get that money coming in and get those donors committed. But at the end of the day, it's got to be a program that's willing to make that investment. And if they're not willing to make that investment, it's going to be just a waste of time and another look at this guy came here in the ACC and it didn't work. By the way, I joked about it last Wednesday, Diesel, when you and I had Michael Duarte on from NBC LA. Michael is, I'm literally texting back and forth with him right now. Michael is going to join us at some point today. I don't know when, but he's going to join us on the stream live from Dodger Stadium and ahead of tonight's Game 4 of the World Series. So at some point, Michael's going to hop on the stream with us for a few minutes. It might be 5 minutes. It might be 8 minutes, but he is going to join us at some point. He just texted me back and said to shoot him some times that would work. So it's going to be random. Don't know yet, but if you are interested in Game 4 tonight, turn it on and leave it on because Michael Duarte of NBC LA will be literally live in the stadium. Last year, he called the show from the dugout, and he'll probably be doing the same this year. So that could be a lot of fun. And maybe the game won't go until 4 a.m. this time. But to your point, to put a bow on it, South Carolina and Clemson, to go back to where you started the conversation, Diesel, they have an opportunity to really look like the ones who have it figured out, right? Because they've got the guy, to your point, that they want to be successful. But what did I just say? You've got to have more than the right guy. You've got to have that full investment. And this applies to Clemson and South Carolina too now. You have your guys, but are you willing to make that full investment in order for those guys to get your program back on track? It's not as easy as just having the right guy in place. And, hey, Clemson's a perfect example of that. in this new era of college football, Diesel, having the right guy is not the answer. You've got to have a lot more than that. And we all want Dabo to be there and be successful, but 2025 has shown that having the right guy is just the first step. You've got to have a lot more than that in today's modern era of college football.
Texter says James Franklin at Vanderbilt wasn't all that great. I don't think throwing money at him is a very good idea. That comes from JT and Greer. Well, JT and Greer, Vanderbilt's all-time win percentage, and this includes James Franklin, is 48.3%. James Franklin's record at Vanderbilt, he was 615. So he was considerably better than the all-time history of Vanderbilt football, and achieving what he did, 681 or 615 win percentage. That's what got him the big time job, being able to achieve that at a school that doesn't have any history of success.
Yeah,
that's where it's at. So, and of course you take Clark Lee and you take who was after James Franklin at Vanderbilt, you take them away because James Franklin elevated that program.
Wasn't Derek Mason there too?
That win percentage is considerably lower than where it was before.
And now Derek Mason's at where I watched last week at one of the midweek games. I can't even remember where they lost.
Oh, that means he's in the MAC somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was
Middle Tennessee?
Maybe. It sounds right. It does sound right. Let's see. Madcraft says, dudes, funny story. I tried my best to stay up for that whole game. I finally gave up in the bottom of the 17th.
That's funny.
Not sure if it was a good or a bad thing. Not sure I could have stomached that walk-off from Freddie. Yeah, guess what, Madcraft? Good segue. We're going to get into that. What happened, I would say last night, but it wasn't last night. It was this morning. And now we have to have the conversation. Madcraft and others out there that are former Braves or former Freddie Freeman fans and Braves fans, this guy all of a sudden doing this 2 years in a row might be etching himself into, I don't know, really unfamiliar territory when it comes to one of the best ever. How great is Freddie Freeman and what he's done? We'll get into it next.
Location, location, location is the most important thing. Ohtani, on a center cut fastball. Force one, Ohtani's it. Shohei, 5-5.
What a World Series game number 3. It went all the way until 2:30-ish this morning. And boy, oh boy, the Dodgers get it done as we all expected them to do, right? Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman was just fantastic. Mookie Betts, funny audio from him in a second as well. But Diesel, truly just a wild, wild game. Not often in sports do you see a game go as long as it did last night. And when you look at it, it's like I said this morning on my sports bin, it was not one game last night. It was 2 games, 18 innings, man. That's just unheard of.
So that was the second longest baseball game in postseason history.
Yeah.
The longest, 2018, Dodgers-Red Sox. So there's just something about the Dodgers, when they get into the postseason, they don't like to win ball games in 9. They got to take this thing to extra innings. But that's wild, man. For that to be just shy of 7 hours long, I could have sat down and watched the first 2 movies in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
It was
not the extended, but the theatrical cuts. And I could have watched both of those in the time it took to watch that baseball game.
Diesel, do you know who Brad Paisley is?
The country star?
That's right, the country singer, Brad Paisley. Here's what's wild about last night's Dodgers-Blue Jays game. Okay. There have been, you just brought it up, there have been 2 18-plus inning games in World Series history. So in the history of the World Series, what happened last night has happened twice. 18-plus innings. Do you know who sang the national anthem for both of those games?
No way.
Brad Paisley.
No way.
18-plus on both. God. Both times in the World Series, a game went 18-plus. Brad Paisley sung the national anthem.
I just hope that no parents said, "Oh, I got a little kid. I bought my son tickets to a World Series game, but he's got school tomorrow.
Yeah,
I got to take him home." Nah, man. Let him sleep.
Let him go.
Let him sleep, and then when the crowd starts roaring, he's gonna wake up and he's gonna thank you for not taking him home in the middle of the 12th.
No, you can't leave.
You can't
You've
leave
got
that
to
ball
stay.
game.
It would have been fun to be there because you're like, okay, how long is this thing going to go? I fell asleep on the couch, and here's what's wild. I don't know how it happened, but I woke up in the last inning, and I looked at the TV, and I said, you know how like when you wake up, you're rubbing your eyes, and you're trying to figure out, where you are? And Diesel, I said, that looks like it says 18. And I just remember laughing. I said, I'm really tired. That looks like it says 8, top of the 18th. And then I picked up my phone and it said 2:34.
By 2:30, I'd already been asleep for 3 hours.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It was unbelievable, but the Dodgers pulled it out. They didn't cover the run line, just in case anybody out there was wondering. The Dodgers win last night 6-5 over the Blue Jays in the World Series Game 3, and the Dodgers now lead the series 2-1. Shohei Ohtani last night, 4 for 4, 3 runs, 2 home runs, 5 bases on balls. He didn't strike out. He is crushing it right now. And then how about Freddie freaking Freeman last night doing it again, a home run, and the one that really meant the most. Here's how that sounded. It's just becoming the norm for Freddie Freeman in the World Series as a Dodger. I've got the radio call for you first, and then the TV call of Freddie Freeman calling game last night or this morning.
Full count on Freeman. Little delivers. Freeman hits one high in the air. Straight away center field. Varsho at the wall. Gone! Freddie Freeman, Mr. World Series, ends the marathon at...
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that all of a sudden Freddie Freeman's gone to L.A. and Diesel, the stars of Atlanta weren't bright enough for him, and he goes to L.A. and all of a sudden He doesn't do what everybody thought he was going to do and just fit in. He becomes Mr. World Series. He was the World Series MVP a season ago when the Dodgers won it. And now, once again, for the second season in a row, Freddie Freeman calling game. We're witnessing, I know you and I and a lot of pundits talk a lot about Shohei Ohtani, and rightfully so, but I don't think we're realizing what Freddie Freeman's doing right now. It's truly incredible. This guy's going to go down, unfortunately, as a Dodger, not a Brave in the Hall of Fame, but this guy's going to go down, Diesel, as one of the best ever. He's just producing and delivering once again.
There's something, and there's no way to, tangibly describe what it is, but there is, when you get that many elite players around each other, they all elevate each other. And truth is, if Freddie Freeman was just on that team and he was just okay, he wouldn't be on that team anymore.
Yeah.
He'd have been replaced. He'd have been shipped right back out. Hey, we brought you from Atlanta to be elite. We didn't bring you here to be okay. We brought you to be elite. And they would have shipped him off and got somebody else to play first base for him.
Elite he has been. Here's the TV call and how that sounded. Which do you like better, the radio call or the television call?
Los Angeles. Freeman sends a fly ball to center field. Varsho's going back before the catch strikes me.
Listen to that crowd, man.
Has ended it. It's a repeat hero with the last word on a Game 3 classic.
A repeat hero with the last word in a Game 3 classic. What a radio call. Are you kidding me? Or what a TV call, rather. The radio call had him as Mr. World Series. The TV call, just absolutely fantastic as well. Here's what Freddie Freeman, Diesel, had to say post-game after calling game for 2 years in a row.
Freddie, when you hit the walk-off last year, you said it's the sort of thing that you dream about in the backyard playing wiffle ball. Did you dream about doing it twice?
No, I don't think you ever come up with a scenario twice. But you just kept getting the opportunities over and over again. I was the one I flew out to center field. I was just really trying to hit a single there and get a base hit and move on and get this game over with, 3 hours ago. But it's just when you're in those situations over and over again, it's kind of what you're always in. Like, that's what you're talking about as kids. And last year, it was always bases loaded, and 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. I know it happened in the 10th, but to have it happen again a year later to hit another walk-off, I don't. It's kind of amazing, crazy, and I'm just glad we won. And we're up 2-1, and we got our Shohei on the mound tomorrow. As an offense, you're trying to get on. I felt for a couple innings we were trying to do too much, and one of us was just trying to hit a home run. And then as we started getting, passing the baton, Max got the walk, Teo got the hit. We just didn't get the hit that we needed. So it was starting to look like better at bats after a few at bats where I think we were just trying to do too much. But as the innings got on, we were getting closer and closer to a ball going over the fence. And thankfully, our bullpen kept throwing zeros, and we got one. Shohei's game. I hope we don't lose sight of getting on. Our starting pitcher tomorrow got on base 9 times tonight.
That's crazy.
Just incredible. It's just kind of how when you're that hot and you're hitting balls right center, left center, like Shohei was tonight, you just knew he was feeling good.
What's got to be frustrating, Diesel? If you're a Blue Jays fan, and I know there's a lot of them up north, but when you're a Blue Jays fan, man, and you feel like you've got the best team you've had in just years, and you're going against this Dodgers team, and you've got them where you want them, you were up on them in regulation, then you go to extra innings, it's got to be frustrating as what to be able to have to play this team in scenario after scenario, time after time. The Dodgers just have another guy that can do it. If not Freddie, Shohei. If not Shohei, Mookie. I mean, it's got to be frustrating, but that just shows how good the Dodgers are, man.
Well, the Dodgers are spending about $100 million more this year on their payroll compared to the Blue Jays. So, I mean, the Blue Jays are a very good team, and in most years, you probably look at them as a favorite to win against just about anybody else. You put any other team against them. Let's say they were playing the Brewers. You'd probably take the Blue Jays over the Brewers in this
they're good
series and say they just got more talent than them. But the Dodgers it's an embarrassment of riches, the amount of talent that the Dodgers have.
It's unbelievable.
And we've said it how many times that, the Dodgers kind of cheated. They figured out a way around the salary cap. They figured out not the salary cap, but the luxury tax. They've deferred payments for years and years and years. They shouldn't have this amount of talent, but they do. Major League Baseball allowed it. This is the roster. Yeah. It is what it is. And, until these guys get old, and I don't know how old Freddie Freeman is, and I don't know how old Shohei are. Freddie's been in the game for quite a while. He's probably one of the older guys on the roster. Until some of them say, I just want more money, they get greedy, or they just get old and say, all right, enough is enough. I've played enough baseball. I don't see them slowing down. I think the Dodgers are going to be the favorites for another couple of years.
Yeah. And what's interesting is you look at tonight's game 4 and for both teams, Diesel, but especially the Dodgers, I'm going to count in real time how many pitchers they went through last night, including Glasnow, the starter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pitchers. 10 pitchers last night through a total of 18 innings. And you've got to wonder now, you've thrown 10 pitchers. What do you have left? And I'm not saying they don't have guys. They've got plenty of talent. But when you have a game that's 18 innings long, what's tonight going to be, 1-0?
The literal definition of Johnny Holstaff.
That's what I'm saying.
Everybody has to be available.
I don't know if tonight's going to – here's what's crazy. You could argue that tonight's going to be a 1-0 game, or you could argue that tonight's going to be a 12-11 game. And it is just crazy. Texter says the Blue Jays coach said they'd taken the bat out of Ohtani's hands. I don't blame them. And that's true. They did say that because I think I said he had 5 base on balls, something like that. They didn't want him to beat him. But the problem is, it's going back to what I said. It doesn't matter. You take it out of Ohtani's hands, somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah, now you're just going to give up a 2-run home run to whoever's behind him.
Here's Ohtani post-game after last night's 18-inning ball game.
I will remind you, you are the starting pitcher in the next game. We saw Dave Roberts, your manager, check on you in the 11th inning. How do you feel, and how will you feel tomorrow?
今日の試合の展開っていうところもあって、下の状態、投げることに関してどう思いますか？もう早く帰って寝て明日に備えたいです。I want to go to sleep as soon as possible so I can get ready.
That's his answer. I want to go to sleep as soon as possible so I can get ready. Let's see here. Do you, Diesel, did you hear what Mookie Betts said in the locker room about what he's going to think about when he lays his head down at night?
No.
To end on a funny note before we run to a break, this is pretty good if you hadn't heard this yet. Mookie Betts in the locker room.
When you go to bed tonight, put your head on the pillow tonight, what will you think about Shohei? Will you think about Freddie? What jumps out at you?
I'm probably not going to think about another man while I'm in bed.
Fair enough. Good answer, right? Good answer. Probably not going to think about another man while I'm in bed, says Mookie Betts. But, man, what a night it was for the Dodgers. And right back at it tonight, a quick turnaround for Game 4, it feels like.
I'm down with these back-to-back nights. I didn't like that long stretch between – 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. I know it was between 2 and 3 was a travel, but still.
And by the way, Michael Duarte, NBC LA, going to try to join us in the final hour of the show. So if he can, he literally texted me and he said, I'm going to add it to my calendar. I'll cross my fingers. The Wi-Fi works on the field. So Michael Duarte of NBC LA will be on the field joining us from LA in hour number 4 of the show, if the Wi-Fi, hopefully, I would think the Wi-Fi could get them through, but we'll talk to Michael then, Diesel.
When we come back, let's do our rapid fire whip around the sports world. Check out what's going on everywhere else out there in our Daily Wires. Doing our whip around the sports world call. We call them our daily wires. The Buzz. There were 10 scoreless innings last night in the Dodgers-Blue Jays game number 3. Between the 8th and the 17th inning, not a single run was scored, and 19 total pitchers were used.
That's crazy.
In that ball game. What a wild finish. You're right. I wouldn't be surprised if tonight we saw the opposite. We saw the starting pitchers go deep into the game. So I don't know if they're probably not going to use Shohei later on in this series unless they absolutely have to.
You don't know what to expect tonight. I think that's why it makes it fun is you have no idea with all the, what'd you say, 19 pitchers used? What the heck's going to happen in game 4? That's going to be fun.
Last night in Monday Night Football, the Chiefs beat the Commanders 28-7. And all of a sudden, after an 0-2 start, the Chiefs are 5-3 on the season.
Shocker.
What's that old saying? Reports of my demise were greatly exaggerated.
Yep, and that happened in Kansas City, didn't it? Shame on us for thinking that an 0-2 start was going to bury them. But just like The Undertaker, to make Lonzo and Rob Brown happy, they have sat right back up to you.
In that game, Travis Kelce scored a 10-yard touchdown late in the third quarter, and it was an historic one. His 83rd career score tied former running back Priest Holmes for the most total touchdowns in Chiefs franchise history. So congratulations to Travis for achieving that. Mavericks rookie Cooper Flagg injured his left shoulder on the opening possession of last night's 101-94 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he spent the vast majority of crunch time watching from the bench due to a coach's decision to pull him. Flagg finished with only 2 points on 1 of 9 shooting, 2 rebounds, and no assists in 31 minutes. He attributed his lackluster performance to being flat in the second game of his first NBA back-to-back.
Have you heard, Diesel, what the Dallas Maverick fans do at home games when the national anthem's played? Have you heard this audio?
No.
So you go into the national anthem, and the part that says that our flag was still there, on flag, the word flag, the entire stadium yells the word flag. So you've got this nice national anthem going along, and all of a sudden the entire arena yells flag because of Cooper Flagg.
Is that patriotic or anti-patriotic?
Only Dallas is what it is. It's just only Dallas.
Broncos corner Pat Surtain II is expected to miss multiple games after a left pectoral strain and could be a candidate for injured reserve. He was injured while making a tackle with 22 seconds left in the first half of Sunday's 44-24 home win over the Dallas Cowboys. His left arm and shoulder twisted awkwardly as he tried to pull George Pickens to the ground. And that's a tough loss to lose Pat Surtain.
Big time, because one of the best in the business at his position. I hate it for the Broncos.
Georgia coach Kirby Smart, when asked about LSU, Brian Kelly's becoming the latest in the long list of coaches who have been fired during the season. He said, quote, "It's the world we live in at this time in the middle of the season. I think there's so much built around the playoffs. It's like everything is boom or bust, and you can't have a normal season." What does Kirby Smart know about normal seasons anyway? All he does is win, no matter what.
I don't know. I love, by the way, reporters asking other coaches about these firings because it's cool to hear their insight. Was Dabo Swinney not asked about that today? And I know we've got some Dabo audio coming up later in the show, but I didn't see maybe I've missed it. And Tolo's helped me out. If you saw something out there, I would like to have heard Dabo's thoughts on all that's going on.
Man, wouldn't that be funny to hear Dabo defending Brian Kelly? That's Mr. Southern Dabo Swinney defending Mr. Northern Brian Kelly. That's interesting, especially since they just played. Michigan and Sharon Moore have withdrawn their appeals in the NCAA infractions case. It's centered around advanced scouting. This is a statement coming from Michigan, quote, "After careful consideration and the prolonged impact of an appeal on Michigan and our student athletes, we have withdrawn our appeal of the NCAA's infractions decision and penalties." So I guess they're admitting, yep, we did it. We're not going to fight it anymore, and we're not going to throw any more money at this.
That's what it sounds like, right? That's a waste of time, waste of money. Let's move on.
What is clearing your name of this even do at this point? Maybe put some wins back in the record books? I don't know.
Yeah, just move on.
This one's wild, Cole. 3 former men's, as we've been talking a lot about gambling scandals lately, 3 former men's basketball players at Eastern Michigan refused to participate in an investigation into potential sports betting infractions involving multiple Eagles games from the 2024-25 season. Jalen Billingsley, Deshaun Nelson, and Jalen Terry, who none of which are still with the program, had their phones imaged. I think that means copied, I'm not sure, on January 29th as part of an NCAA investigation triggered by suspicious betting on Eastern Michigan's game January 14th against Central Michigan. The players declined to be interviewed and later notified the NCAA through legal counsel that they would not participate in the investigation and asked that the phone imaging be destroyed. Refusing to participate in investigations is an NCAA violation and can result in the permanent loss of eligibility. The only problem is they don't have any eligibility left.
I wish we could go one day without hearing one of these stories, but we're not going to, are we?
Maybe it's proof that sports gambling is really, 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 really dirty.
Unless you're on Prize Picks.
Yeah. In a memo, Greg Sankey urged the NCAA to rescind its decision to permit athletes to bet on pro sports. SEC presidents, quote, are united that this is a major step in the wrong direction. That's the memo from Greg Sankey to the NCAA. He says, no. You cannot let them bet on pro sports. It's a slippery slope, man. Bad things will happen.
Indeed, it is a slippery slope, no doubt.
Ian Rappaport said on NFL Game Day morning on Sunday that the Steelers are very interested in signing Aaron Rodgers to another season because this one is off to such a good start. Obviously, Aaron has been very wishy-washy on whether or not he's going to play another season, as he was very wishy-washy on whether or not he was going to play this season. But he's winning, so maybe that'll light a fire on him to come back.
And I think that's the thing, Diesel. Like, if he wants to come back and he's fully committed, bring him back, because at least you have some stability there, and you're not like just banking on some quarterback out of college. I don't have a problem with it if he's committed. Like I said, if he's committed.
The 6-2 Hurricanes, that'll be the Carolina Hurricanes, will host the 5-1-3 Las Vegas Golden Knights tonight at 6:30. So they are off to a really good start. And the 2-1 Hornets are on the road at the 2-1 Heat tonight at 7:30. So as bad as it seems here in South Carolina with our teams, things are going pretty well for the teams in North Carolina.
Does it feel like, though, the Hurricanes, I'm kind of reliving my Cowboys fandom? The regular season's good, and then postseason comes, and
they made it all the way to the semifinals last
year. I know,
year.
But they never can get over the hump. And I don't know. My faith in Carolina, it's diminished. But again, we talked about it last year. I want to pull for them. I'd like to go to more games. I just don't want to go during the week when it's a 4-hour drive up there.
It is a long drive. They won a Stanley Cup 05-06. It's been 20 years, right? It's been a long time.
Again, feels like a Cowboys.
But they've also played for the Stanley Cup several times. Well, they're always making deep playoff runs.
You got to bring it home, baby. You got to bring it home.
Look at you. You're buying into this championship or bust
fire
culture.
I'm ready for whoever the coach is. Just go ahead and fire him. He's no good.
Rod Brendamore.
Pay the buyout. Pay the buyout. Diesel, who do we trust more? What am I talking about? College football top 25. We didn't have time to get into it yesterday, but in the top 10, top 12, the contenders, who do we trust? Tolos want to hear from you as well next. Where do you have them on the trust scale? I know a lot of you Tolos may not want to get on the scale in the mornings, may need to drop a few LBs, but when it comes to the trust scale out there, no, I'm not calling you fat. We're all there, right? When it comes to the trust scale, Diesel, where do we have these teams? The AP poll was released this past weekend after another fantastic week of college football. And yesterday's Overreaction Monday was so busy, we didn't get a chance to take a deep dive into the AP poll. But now that it is released for the week of October 26th, on Sunday is when it was released, officially week 10. I don't know how we're already in week 10, but here we are. Where are these teams on the trust scale? And what I mean by trust is when you talk about making a run to the national championship, do you trust these teams? Welcome into Wire to Wire, hour number 2. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. If the scale starts at 0 and goes to 10, Diesel, let's start at the very top. Ohio State, they're 7-0, a big one this Saturday afternoon against Penn State. But on the trust scale, let's start with the Buckeyes. Tolos, want to hear from you as well. 844-326-3663. Where's the Buckeyes on your trust scale, Diesel? How much faith and trust do you have in Ryan Day's Buckeyes?
They have given up 43 points all season, combined. Combined. 7 points to Texas, 9 points to Ohio, 6 to Washington, 3 to Minnesota, 16 to a top 20 Illinois at the time, and they blanked Wisconsin. They have an embarrassment of riches at Ohio State, an elite defense, an insanely elite defense, and they got an offense that can put up points on just about anybody, Cole. I give Ohio State a 10 out of 10 on my trust meter. I would be blown away at this point if Ohio State doesn't make the national championship game. The problem for Ohio State is that they haven't been tested again and again and again all season long. They haven't been in a close game all season
the
long.
Phone lines are about to blow up.
So
easy.
It feels sort of reminiscent of Clemson's national title runs back in the day. I mean, look, just because you play a relatively manageable schedule doesn't mean that you're going to get beat when you go up against an SEC team or two in the playoff. But it would certainly help if they were in a tight game or two and they had to go win it on a late game drive, and they haven't had to do that yet.
Well, at least they have James Franklin and Drew Aller this Saturday. Wait. No, they don't have James Franklin and Drew Aller. So the getting gets good because you're going up against a Penn State team that's a shell of what they were and expected to be, right? And then to your point, at Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and then you finish the season at Michigan, which will be tough. It always is. Do you realize when you look at their season totals, you mentioned the amount of points they've given up. If my math's correct, they're averaging like 6 points allowed per game.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to win a lot of football games holding them to 2 field goals.
That's what the average comes to, roughly, just off the top of my head. Offensively, you talked about their defense. Okay, offensively, they're not good, right? Well, they're averaging 431.4 yards per game, around 270, 280 yards passing per game, about $150 rushing per game. They have a third down conversion rate of 52.7, and defensively, Diesel, they hold opponents to a 21.3% on third down. So yes, the number one team in the country, I think we can all agree, and if there are any Tolos out there that disagree, we'd love to hear from you. It seems like Ohio State's the most trustworthy team in college football right now. Diesel, I'd agree with you. I also have them at a 10 on the trust scale.
It's not what this discussion is about. We can come back here at another time, Cole. But if Ohio State goes back-to-back and the Big Ten has won 3 in a row at that point, what then becomes of that SEC dominance narrative? Especially when it comes to tournament dominance. Like, I don't think anybody's arguing that the SEC is loaded with top 25 teams and their depth is far greater than the depth of the Big Ten. But when it really matters, when it comes time to go get trophies and rings, the Big Ten is the better conference.
Well,
wouldn't that certainly say that?
No, it would say Ohio State's the better team, right? Because Ohio State's the one getting the rings. It would almost, Diesel, remind me of Bama's dominance in the SEC. You remember when everybody else was riding the coattails of Alabama, right? Chanting SEC, 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 when they've never done anything in the SEC. But that's just the way it goes. To your point, that's the way it happens. As fans, well, look at the Big Ten, look at the Big 10, look at the Big 12, look at the SEC. Michigan played a part in that, obviously, and credit to them. But I think right now, the Ohio State's the front runner, the clear front runner of winning a national championship. So the trust scale continues. Tolos, want to hear from you as well. 844-326-3663. On the trust scale, Diesel, where do you put Indiana? Fernando Mendoza, they've had a pretty good season as well. They're 7-0. Averaging themselves 43.9 points per game. They're ranked 4th among all teams in offense. Defensively, they're only allowing 11.6 points per game. Kurt Signetti has this team like a well-oiled machine, and I want to know, where are they on your and the Tolos trust scale?
I think I got them at around a 9, which is crazy for me to say about an Indiana team, but they've been more tested than Ohio State has been this year. They went on the road, beat a number 3 Oregon team by 10 points.
That's a huge win.
They hosted Illinois, who was a top 10 team at the time, just beat them 63-10.
Yeah.
I mean, they are putting up crazy numbers on the offense, crazy numbers on the defense. I mean, this is a team, Cole, that, I mean, they've been held to around 30 points just twice this year, 3 times this year. Outside of that, they're hitting 38, 50, 56, 56, 73, 63. I mean, they are scoring in bunches. They just better hope that they can keep the quarterback healthy.
You know what? To your point, I'd almost say that Indiana has done more when it comes to where we are on the trust factor. Like, to your point, Diesel, they beat Oregon, and this is a really good Oregon team.
2 wins over top 10 teams.
And they almost –
Ohio State has 1.
Against Illinois, I think they had like 500 yards of offense.
Yeah.
I mean, just boat raced them. And it's a good Illinois team, not a great Illinois team, but like, they're really impressive. They're checking the boxes, and Ohio State is too. But man, it's hard for me not to have them if I'm going to have Ohio State as a 10 on my trust scale, I've got to have Indiana as a 10 as well.
Indiana's got a stronger resume.
It's impressive.
It's not by a ton, but they do have a stronger resume.
You don't have their schedule pulled up by chance?
Indiana, I do.
What's their remaining?
Their remaining is at Maryland, at Penn State, Wisconsin, and at Purdue.
So they're winning out.
Yeah, they're
going to be undefeated going into the conference. Wow. Yeah, you're right. That's impressive.
We're going to see an Indiana-Ohio State conference championship game. Should the loser of that game fall outside of the top 2?
No.
Outside of the top 2.
Well,
because in all likelihood, there'll be 1-2.
Depends on the outcome. The outcome. If it's close, which I expect it to be, I mean, if it's 10 points or under, Diesel, the loser of that game shouldn't be penalized. If it's more than 10 points, okay, you start getting into that conversation. But all right, Texas A&M on the how much do you trust them scale, 0 being not at all, 10 being I trust them a lot. I had Ohio State and Indiana both at a 10. Diesel, the Aggies have, my gosh, you talk about impressive, 8-0 on the season. Where do you have these Aggies at on your trust scale?
I got them around an 8.
Okay.
On the scale. And it's not just, because they've beaten a couple top 25 teams. That's impressive. But they've been in some really tight games, Cole. They beat Notre Dame 41-40. They gave up 42 points to Arkansas without Sam Pittman, by the way. They'd already fired. That was 2 weeks ago or last week.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up 25 points to a bad LSU. They gave up, they've given up points a few times this season. So the defense does play pretty well most of the time. But occasionally, this defense will give up some points, and that's just not something we've seen from the other 2 teams that we've talked about.
They've scored 302 points through 8 games, which is averaging 37.8, allowing an average of 23.6 points per game. Look, I like A&M. I think they have a quarterback, and we talked about the quarterback yesterday, Diesel. I think they have as good as a quarterback as any of them right now, just in terms of what he's able to do. In not only, through the air, but a slippery athletic guy as well. They're 8-0, man, in the SEC. Let's never, ever, ever discount being 8-0. And when you talk about what they have left, could they trip up? Yeah, they could. But you remember I had that audio yesterday, Diesel, of Kurt Herbstreit going through their remaining schedule and remaining win percentage when he didn't know who Samford was. They're not going to lose at Mizzou. No, they're not going to lose at home at Bryan College Station against South Carolina. They're not going to lose to Samford. And right now, if they played today, wouldn't we all pick A&M to beat Texas? We would all pick A&M. There's not anybody out there that would pick Texas to beat A&M right now, the way Marcel Reed and those guys are playing. So you talk about Indiana and Ohio State, put Texas A&M right there in terms of having a good chance at winning out. I'd have them at probably a 9, a little, just a tick higher than you, but I can't put them at a 10. You can't have everybody at a 10, and unless you're just high on everybody. But I've got Ohio State and Indiana at a 10 on the trust scale, and A&M at about a 9.
I still think there's a chance they lose on the road at Missouri.
I think so.
I don't think there's a strong chance they lose at Texas. I think they win that game, but I mean, who knows? Everybody has been waiting for Texas A&M to collapse, and that's because Texas A&M almost always collapses, right?
Yeah.
We've seen it. That's been their MO. Get off to a hot start, collapse down the stretch. Now, this is a Mike Elko-led team. This is not Jimbo Fisher. This is not Kevin Sumlin.
What about Alabama? After a big win on the road at South Carolina, 7-1 on the season. Again, a very good team that seems like they're peaking. I know that they had to struggle to get through that game Saturday, but you also give South Carolina credit as well, averaging around 34 points per game, allowing around an average of 18 points per game. They're really good. I don't think they're like elite defensively like Ohio State seems to be right now. Their passing game's extraordinary, Diesel, over 2,000 yards passing from Ty Simpson. I love what Kalen DeBoer's done this year, especially after that Florida State loss, when we're sitting there thinking, oh boy, Kalen DeBoer just lost to Florida State. And let's be honest now, Florida State's not a good team. That wasn't a great loss, but the way they've rebounded from that loss, they're playing as good as anybody. I do struggle with where exactly I place them on the trust scale in terms of, do I trust them to I think they could win a national championship? I think they could, but do I also trust them to be up there with Indiana and Ohio State? I think I'd probably put Bama to 8 right now.
4 top 20 wins for Alabama.
Yeah.
The loss to Florida State, who looked like world beaters at the time. And at the time when Florida State won that game, we thought, oh my God, FSU is back. Tommy Castellanos, he is exactly what the doctor ordered there in Tallahassee. What scares me about Alabama is if they were to face a team like Indiana that scores quick, would they be able to dig back out of that hole? Because we saw them, we saw them play poorly in the first half against South Carolina. Again, credit because they scored twice in the fourth quarter to go win that ball game. Like there's something to be said for a resilient football team that can find ways to win, even when they're not playing their best. But it was against South Carolina, a team that's been offensively inept all season long. If they're playing badly against an Indiana or an Ohio State that scores 50, 60, 70 points a game, they might be too deep in a hole and not stand a chance to be able to come back. I'd put them at more like a 6.
6? Okay. I don't hate it. I'm going to skip a few here. I'm going to skip over Georgia and Oregon at 5 and 6 and go to Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, and those Rebels. Diesel, 7-1, 4-1 in conference. You talked about their quarterback yesterday. They're averaging around 37 points per game, defensively giving up a little bit more than teams like Indiana, Ohio State, and Alabama, around 22.6 points per game. But offensively, they're putting up near 500 yards a game, and Lane Kiffin's got them playing really well. I think this is a really good football team. I don't know how good of a team they are at one loss. Where are they on your trust scale?
Probably around a 5.
Oh, wow.
Around a 5.
I thought they'd be higher.
They're up, they're down, they give up a lot of points, they score a lot of points. I think the way they've been tested all season long, more often than not, they come out ahead, right? They've only got one loss on the road against a really good Georgia team, and that was an 8-point game. I would, against the bottom half of the 12-team playoff field, sure, I'd give you a trust scale of a 9.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to get into those quarterfinals and those semifinals, or get into those semifinals and the national championship game, I just don't know. I just don't know. I mean, obviously they've got a win over LSU, but that one is very suspect at the moment, and that was just a 5-point win. They lost to Georgia. They beat Oklahoma in a weird rainy game on the road. Credit to win that football game, but I mean, they gave up 35 points to Arkansas. They gave up 23 points to a bad Kentucky team. So they should have beat Kentucky by 3 scores. They only beat them by 1. They should have beat Arkansas by 3 scores. They only beat them by 1.
Madcraft says 4.4 for Ole Miss. I would probably, you said 6 on your trust.
I said a 5.
5. I'll go 6 on my trust scale. I trust them. I don't trust them against the very best of the best. One more, though, before we run to a break and bring on Jack Veltri. Go ahead.
Have you heard that quote from the postgame press conference or availability? Lane Kiffin trolling Brent Venables for his hot take.
No.
When Brent said that he thought Oklahoma was a better football team, he's like, well, that's an interesting take considering we beat you on the road in conditions that are perfect for defenses. I would say that you weren't the better football team.
I love Lane.
What game are you analyzing?
I love Lane. He's the best. I love him. One more. Where do you have the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech on your trust scale when you talk about being able to go on a playoff run, win a national championship, Diesel? I know it sounds crazy to ask the question, but they are the 8th ranked team in the country, and they are undefeated at 8-0. This one's a tough one. Also want to hear from the Tolos. Where's the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech?
About a 2. About a 2. But, I mean, they deserve to be higher in my mind. I get what I'm saying.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. But Haynes King is playing amazing football this year, right? Haynes King has played pretty bad football for the majority of his career. Like, good enough for Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
But not like national level elite. And I don't trust Haynes King. Like, how is he a different player in 2025 than he was in 2024 and 2023?
The 7 teams above them in the AP poll: Ole Miss, Oregon, Georgia, Bama, A&M, Indiana, Ohio State. What do you think Georgia Tech could beat any of those teams? I don't think so. I don't either.
Their wins are against Colorado, Gardner-Webb, Clemson, Temple, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Duke, and Syracuse. Duke might be the only team with a pulse they've actually played all season long.
Oh, it's tough. I'll go a little higher than you, but not like a lot higher. I'll go, what did you say?
2?
Yeah.
Maybe a 3?
Yeah, I'll go I'll be generous. I'll go 4, but I don't. I'll go 4 just to be generous.
Alex on the stream says, have you all seen the player and dad attacked an assistant coach at Eastern Kentucky? No, we haven't. We're going to look that up in the break. And
send it to us, Alex.
And send us a link or let us know where we can find it. We'll look it up in the break and see if we can discuss it a little bit later on in the show. But when we come back, it's time to talk South Carolina Gamecocks with our man, Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central. It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Time to jump back into the weeds of South Carolina football with Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central. Jack, you were in the room on Saturday after the game. I'm sure Shane Beamer quite sallow in that opportunity to meet with him. How was he earlier today, and how has he been over the last few days? Has Shane been a goldfish? Has he turned it right back around and turned that positivity back on, or is that loss kind of dragging him down a little bit?
Doing pretty good, I think, guys. I mean, we spoke to him earlier today, and typically the way it goes, I was not on the teleconference on Sunday because I was at basketball, but I think with him, it's always, from my understanding and just listening to him talking a lot, it's always Saturday's a bit, frustrated after the game if they lose, happy on Saturday if they win. Sunday typically is always a bit more gloomy and doomy, like it's Sunday. Everyone kind of feels that way, to be honest, but it's more so amplified when they lose. And then Tuesday's typically back to normal, pretty good, moving on to the next week. There's not always a ton of carryover, but he was pretty good today.
Jack, I'll ask you the same question I asked one of our Clemson guests on the show yesterday, because both programs in a tough spot here in 2025. Do you believe that what's happening, in the rest of the country, across the country with Brian Kelly, James Franklin, maybe Mike Norvell, Billy Napier, do you feel like that has any effect on the thoughts and processes of those in charge, like a Jeremiah Donati, when it comes to Shane Beamer's future at South Carolina?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You mentioned all those jobs that are open, Cole. I mean, it's astonishing how many are open right now, and it's not even Halloween yet. Like, we still have another month to go in the regular season, and then there's the bowl games and the playoffs. Like there's still a lot of season left to go, and coaches have been fired for. It feels like forever ago since Virginia Tech fired their coach, all the way back in week 3. Deshaun Foster getting fired. I mean, it's just been crazy to think about how many coaches are gone. And I actually spoke with Jeremiah the other day. You mentioned Donati after a Board of Trustees meeting on Friday. Briefly just talked to him about Beamer and if he feels supported, or if he's supporting him and whatnot. And he said yes, and that he believes that Shane's going to be able to get the thing turned around. He knows he could always talk to him about anything, and however he can help, he's willing to do so. So the interesting thing here is that Jeremiah did not make the hire with Shane. That was Ray Tanner when he was AD here at South Carolina. So that is interesting, to just keep in mind. But I think the consensus around here is that Shane is going to be here heading into next season, and then you figure out from there. That'll be a discussion for another day, more so about, okay, what does his future look like maybe next year? But I think he's good to go for right now.
Jack, going a little big picture here, not a specific question about South Carolina, but these giant buyouts that guys like Billy Napier and Brian Kelly are getting, these were supposed to prevent the midseason firings. This was supposed to be that speed bump that made boosters say, whoa, we don't want to come up with $60 million to tell somebody to go away. In your mind, what is the tipping point? Because these are only going to keep going up. What is the tipping point at which boosters, even at the biggest schools with the richest fan base, will say, that is just too much for us to fire somebody in week 5?
It's a good question. I don't know necessarily what the limits are. I don't know exactly what goes on at all these other programs that are firing their coaches and X, Y, and Z about which donors are doing what and all that. But I think you hear about it online that there are frustrated donors all the time, like that are trying to. I think it was Billy Napier before he got fired. I think it was last year that was that rumor out there that I think they did have whatever Florida's Board of Trustees, whatever their equivalent is over there, they were supposed to meet or something. I think I read last year, and that the donors were coming up with enough money to get rid of Billy. This is last year before he got fired. This a few weeks ago. So I don't think there's really any limits. I think You see Norvell, you see Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. It's kind of surprising those coaches haven't been fired yet, considering they've had long leashes at their programs that have done absolutely nothing. So I think it's just, you see the buyouts. I mean, Mike Norvell and his staff, it's going to cost over $100 million to move on from all those guys. And it's the same thing at LSU with Brian Kelly. I just think you look at each fan base, you look at the donors that they have at these schools and stuff. I think it's a case-by-case basis, I think, of which schools are willing to make the moves, because not everyone can just say, hey, let's pony up $100 million and let's get rid of these guys. But also, it's not just that. You have to make a hire after that too, and hire a whole new staff. So it's a lot that needs to be considered when you're making these kind of, in my opinion, pretty rash moves.
Jack, just imagine being a rich LSU donor who was hit up for, and I don't know what Coach O's buyout was at the time. Let's say you're hit up for $10 million to get rid of Coach O. You're still paying that off. And then 3.5 years later, they're hitting you up again for money to fire Brian Kelly. I mean, how many times would you let somebody take money out of your pocket to pay somebody not to coach at your school anymore?
I mean, it's insane what people are willing to do just to move on from a coach. I mean, and here's the thing: you're not given a ton of time to get this thing right. I mean, if you're LSU, whoever the next coach is going to be, they're going to have 3 years max, maybe, to get this thing right. Like, people are going to, people get a free pass in year one because you're coming in, a new thing. You know, Brian Kelly set the bar pretty high in year one by going to the SEC championship and never got back to that level again with 8 and 9 win seasons. And now they're 5 and 3 this season out in Baton Rouge. So, I mean, I think most people would accept that type of success, but LSU's different and Florida's different. And I think you could argue Penn State's different. I mean, these programs, they're not patient, and fans, as we all know, are not patient either. One thing goes wrong in one game, team could be 10-0, and something goes wrong in one game. It's, oh, fire this guy, fire that guy. The solution always seems to be fire this coach, fire that coach, but it doesn't always work out. You know, what's the saying? You know, be careful what you wish for. Moving on from Brian Kelly might seem like the right move right now, or moving on from James Franklin may seem to be the best move, but is it going to be that way in 3-4 years when, shoot, you might be right back here again, having to cough up another $50 to $100 million? It's a lot to think about.
Jack, do you believe it's outlandish for Gamecock fans to want Shane Beamer fired?
Yes, I do. I think it's a bit crazy, because go back to, how many months has it been? Almost a year now since they beat Clemson, and everyone's talking, I can't remember exactly, so I'm paraphrasing here, but, you know, Beamer's the savior, Beamer's the greatest, all these singing his praises for beating the Tigers and having a great year, winning 9 games, and you give him the contract extension, and everyone's excited that this is the man for the job. And now you got people actually out here wanting to run him out of town. That's ludicrous to me. I think Shane has done a pretty good job over the years. Guess this season has not been the one you were hoping for. But I think we also have to remember, I think the expectations were just set way, way too high for this program coming off of last season, just because of everything they lost, and that, you know, teams are pretty good in this conference, and that's always going to be tough to win in the SEC. So I think it would be a little bit crazy for people to want Shane Beamer fired right now, because I just think he's done enough to earn another year, in my opinion. Not just based on this season, but as the body of work as a whole.
So, Jack, help us out for those who don't know the process of hiring an offensive coordinator, because there's a very high likelihood at the end of the season there's going to be a new one coming to Columbia. Is Shane in charge of hiring that new offensive coordinator? Does he have help? How many hands are sort of involved in making that decision?
Yes. Ultimately, it's going to be Shane Beamer's decision, as it was with Marcus Satterfield, with Dow Loggins, with Mike Shula. There's definitely input from others, I would say. But at the end of the day, it's Shane's decision. I would say Jeremiah Nadi is definitely involved in those conversations. But this is Shane's program, and he's going to hire who he thinks is best for the job. And obviously, it needs to get approved by the Board of Trustees. So there are a lot of different voices in that discussion, but it's Shane's program. And whether it is wanting to move on from Mike Shula after season's end, I think we still need to let this season play out and see. Because if he hasn't been let go yet, I think you just let him go the rest of the year at this point and just see what can happen. Because the offense was better. I think, as much as everyone wants to get rid of Mike Shula, guys, I think the play calling was fine on Saturday against Alabama. It was not the reason you necessarily lost the game. There were other things that went wrong in that game for South Carolina to blow that lead. But the offense can continue to be better. They have to be, because one game does not change everyone's opinion on what the body of work looks like on the whole.
Jack, what do you think the biggest downfall was Saturday into the reason that South Carolina was not able to close that game out against Alabama?
Yeah, I think the big issue closing out that game was just, you got to give a lot of credit to Alabama, first off.
Sure.
The way they were able to just, after Lenoris scores the touchdown with like 10 minutes to go, Alabama goes on an insanely good drive, a championship level football team type of drive where you're going nearly 8 minutes down the field. It's not just scoring a touchdown, but you're getting the 2-point conversion as well on somewhat of a trick play. That's impressive. And for as rough as things look for Ty Simpson at times, and that offense, they stepped up when it mattered most and made the plays. And the defense for South Carolina, which played really well throughout the day, did not get the job done when it mattered most. And that's where I think you talk about, all right, well, Alabama stepped up in the fourth quarter and South Carolina didn't. So that's the difference between winning and losing in this conference.
Jack, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet a lot, Jaden Sellers, but he had a pretty monster day when you consider he only had 3 receptions along of 22 yards. Talk about the connection that Lenoris and Jaden have. And are you a little disappointed that this might be just a one and done opportunity to see those two play on the same field?
Yeah, it would be a little disappointing, wouldn't it? I think their connection's been pretty good over the last 2 games. Shane joked today with us in media availability that they've got Jaden in the slot, and before Jaden became that guy in the slot, Sellers Lenoris hadn't been throwing a ton to the others at that slot position. So, and now he's throwing a lot to Jaden. So it's like Shane's like, oh, hold up now. So it's funny in that regard. But yeah, no, the connection's been really good. And that 4th and 12 play, that's a really good play call by Mike Shula, and just an efficiently job well done for Sellers to take a few steps to his left, find Jaden on the other end there to make that catch. And it was a really nice play. And yeah, their connection's been good so far.
Is there any part of you that thinks maybe Jaden being there for his sophomore season next year might tug on Lenoris's heartstrings a little bit to stick around one more year?
That's a good question. Here's my thing. Before Saturday against Alabama, I would have said, look, Lenoris has not really shown me that he's that first-round NFL draft pick type of quarterback that we know he can be, to go out there and play like the way he had been. Hadn't shown me that throughout the season, to where I'm like, oh, maybe he would benefit from coming back for another year. But then you see the performance he does have against Alabama. It was very good, in my opinion. You could talk about the fumble all you want. That's a play that's always going to be there, that is always going to be talked about. But what needs to be talked about is the way he played throughout that entire game. The interception was not on him. The completion rate wasn't necessarily the highest, but still, he gave you a chance to win that football game and made some really spectacular plays. So he's, in my opinion, I don't know what is going to happen at the end of the year with that decision, but right now, I mean, he looked like a quarterback that would be taken to the first round. I see what the NFL scouts are seeing with that performance he had on Saturday.
Well, Jack, it doesn't get much easier, man. This Saturday, we all know this gauntlet continues for South Carolina, this time on the road at Ole Miss, the 7th ranked team. South Carolina 3-5 going against 7-1 Ole Miss. 12.5-point favorite are the Rebels, and we know how this game went last year. Not really a close contest. Does this one have any inclination in your mind that it's going to be different in terms of it being a close contest?
I think it could be. We still need to see more out of this offense for me to feel like, okay, they can go out there and match punch for punch with what Ole Miss does, because it's not just their offense that's good with Trinidad Chambliss. It's the defense is good, and they're just a good, well-oiled machine that can cause a lot of problems for South Carolina. My thought is this game could either be entering blowout territory, or it could be that South Carolina is in a dogfight. I think that is what we're going to see on Saturday. It's one or the other, and I don't know necessarily if the Gamecocks have enough in them to win it, but I will say after the performance they had against Alabama, I think they could honestly go out here, and if they play like that again, they got a chance, in my opinion.
And then, Jack, to give you a preview of what we're going to touch on in the very next short segment, we saw Kellen Moore bench Spencer Rattler on Sunday, midway through that loss to Tampa Bay, and it has been announced that the Saints will start rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck over Spencer Rattler. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, and apparently that's for the rest of the season. Yeah. So, I felt like this was going to happen at some point. First off, Spencer was not Kellen Moore's quarterback when he came in.
Sure.
Did not draft him. That was the previous staff. And, let's face it, guys, Spencer was a 5th-round draft pick. And if there's any sort of slip-up at any point, which he's been playing really well for most of the season, but did not play well on Sunday, and you see the results are because of that, where he's getting benched now for the guy that Kellen Moore drafted. And it's not like Tyler Shuck is, this all-world quarterback. I don't think he's going to be any good, and especially in the Saints offense, where you see Rattler couldn't succeed. I don't think Tyler Shuck is going to succeed either. So, I don't like it for Rattler. It stinks. It's a tough situation to be in, but the guy's a next level professional, and I think he's going to end up somewhere on his feet, whether it's back with the Saints after the season or somewhere else. I mean, I hope he gets into a good situation, because he was playing pretty well, and then to see him get benched after a little bit of a tough stretch, I mean, what do you expect out of the guy? I mean, it's an awful team, awful organization right now. It's a tough spot for any quarterback to be in.
Jack, you're a pro. We appreciate your insights, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
See you, man. Jack Veltri, Gamecock Central. Really good stuff there. We'll dive into that. Tyler Shuck, now QB1. Is Jack Veltri right? We'll talk about it next. Gamecock fans, want to hear what your reaction is to the breaking news that Spencer Rattler has been benched by Kellen Moore. They're now going to Tyler Shuck, the former Louisville Cardinal, and Diesel Jack Veltri, who's fantastic as always. He was just on with us in the very last segment, like literally minutes ago, and I I put one of his answers on our Facebook page. Gamecock fans not liking it already. When I asked him if it was outlandish that Shane Beamer, a lot of fans think he should be fired. Already some pushback on the Facebook page at the Fan Upstate. John says that is stupid in all caps. Justice says the goal isn't to be good every year at Carolina, just every 3 years. Which I don't know if that's sarcasm or not.
That sounds like a Clemson fan.
It does. It does. You're right. It might be. Jason says Beamer needs to find better coaches on offense. Too late to fire assistant coaches now this late in the season, but Shula needs to be gone. Steven says he's going to Virginia Tech anyway. So get in, Tolo's on the comments there.
So that lends a very good question. I asked Jack about hiring a new offensive coordinator. God, how upset would Gamecock fans be? And how many of them would change their tune if Shane decided to keep Mike Shula around? Let's say these last couple of games, the offense looks considerably better than it did the first half of the season.
The worst thing for him, right?
And Mike Shula somehow gets retained by South Carolina.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the kind of vitriol coming out of that fan base if that were the case? So I beg the question, with Satterfield being his first choice, Gamecock fans hated him. With Dowell Loggins being his second choice, Gamecock fans didn't give him any credit because they said it was all Lenora Sellers. And with Mike Shula being his third choice, and that hasn't gone particularly well either, why are they giving Shane Beamer the reins to hire a new offensive coordinator? I know it's got to be somebody that he wants. I know it's got to be somebody that he trusts, that he sees eye to eye with, philosophically, whatever. But I would say Shane, to this point, does not have a strong track record in hiring offensive coordinators.
Well,
so maybe it doesn't need to be his decision anymore.
Here's where I am on that. I'm fine with it being his decision as long as he realizes that this is the decision that he makes, that he's going to live with, and that he's going to die with. I'm fine with him making it. But if he's going to make it, when it comes to the next offensive coordinator, if I'm the AD, Diesel, I've got to let Beamer know, be very clear. Shane, look, I'm the AD. You're the head football coach. You make the hire, but when you make this hire, you better know this is the hire that's either going to make or break you, because this is your final chance. Now, to be fair, I, as the AD and the board of trustees, everybody, the school, we have to give Shane whatever he needs. This is the SEC, for crying out loud. If he needs to bank the Brinks truck to go get the next OC, we're going to give him the Brinks truck. So Jeremiah Donati's got to give Beamer what he needs to go get the next guy. This Mike Shula experiment didn't work. And to your point, Diesel, if their offense is better, I think it's still a moot point, because I don't know how Beamer can save face this offseason if he doesn't make a move.
Yeah, you can't saddle him with an OC that suddenly wants to run the triple option, but it does feel like Shane needs somebody to hold his hand through this OC hire.
He needs to get it right. I mean, that's all I can say.
Yes, he does. It is time, and this will be that thing that, you're right, makes or breaks his tenure.
Yeah.
When we come back, Cole, we are now less than 24 hours away from our Week 10 Upset Picks Challenge opening. Look, you're doing well.
I'm not doing well.
I don't hear this negativity
I'm not
from you.
doing well.
Okay? I'm going to get into some of my early leans. I want to see what you think about them. You're going to bring a few as well. And Tolos, if you've got some picks, Dave Mosley, we need you here, bud.
Yeah.
We need you more than ever on the early lean segment. If you can let us know who maybe you're considering for the Upset Picks Challenge tomorrow that opens up at 4:00. That's coming up next. JB putting a little ultimatum on Shane Beamer, putting it out there over the internet, says, go get him, Beamer. Make this thing right or be gone after next year. How about that?
And he's got a point with Malzahn. You somebody else brought that up to me a couple of weeks ago. You hate that didn't work out.
Yeah.
That could have been special. And unfortunately, you've got Mike Shula.
Where is Gus Malzahn?
He is at Florida, right? No. Hold
I
on.
knew he was back in Florida State.
Florida State.
He's the OC at Florida State.
I had the wrong Florida. Florida
Wow.
State. That's right.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see Gus back in the SEC.
Yeah.
Could you imagine him pulling a little coup and becoming a head coach again in the SEC in that way? Following up on a couple of texts and messages that have come into the show over the last 30 minutes or so, we did have one streamer get in. This was Alex. He said, hey, you guys, have you heard about the situation at Eastern Kentucky? This is weird, Cole, but we don't have a ton of details on this. A defensive back for Eastern Kentucky, Charles Ingram V, and his father were arrested on Saturday for allegedly assaulting a member of the team's coaching staff. It says the event occurred on Saturday when they stopped him in the parking lot and committed a 4th-degree assault, 2nd-degree disorderly conduct, and 1st-degree criminal mischief on him. I looked it up in Kentucky. What exactly does a 4th-degree assault actually mean? And it says that is the lowest grade of assault charge in the state of Kentucky. So
you can't beat up your coach?
I guess not. That's not really a good idea if you want to stay on the team. But both player and father were arrested. And both were in Kentucky. They called it lodged without bond. So they were booked without bond.
It sounds nice.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds like it's
hanging out in a log cabin. Like,
yeah,
where are you doing?
Nice
he was
Kentucky
suspended from the team, just suspended, not kicked off the team.
Yeah.
So somebody on the stream guessed, like, did he go smack his coach? Did father and son corner him in front of his car and smack him around?
Is there
a little
video
bit?
of this out there?
I don't know.
I'm telling us if you have it, send it. I'm surprised. You know what? Like, I'm not saying that's not real, but I'm surprised something like that didn't blow up. I mean, Barstool, you name it, right? That you would think, Diesel, that if something like that were on video, it'd be all over TikTok, Instagram. It would be everywhere, right?
Well, I think it's because most people don't believe that Eastern Kentucky is a real school. Like, it doesn't sound real.
I've heard of it one time. I've heard of it one time. The Colonels. No, I don't know.
Colonels as in military colonels, not corn kernels.
Or like Colonel Sanders.
Well, Colonel Sanders is spelled the same way as was Colonel Sanders in the military? I don't know that he was. Did he just call himself Colonel Sanders?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. Eastern Kentucky. You might be right. Maybe it's not a real program. Maybe it's just made up.
Well, there was
Sycamore.
There was a time, Cole, when Eastern Kentucky was a candidate for the Sun Belt. Coastal Carolina ended up getting a nod. They picked the right school.
Yeah.
The title, by the way, colonel is honorary. A Kentucky colonel, not the military rank. So Colonel Sanders, not a real colonel.
Yeah.
How about General Nealon? General Nealon was he a real general?
Yeah, of course. He says he was. It is. I mean, I don't know. I'm not good with these small schools that are maybe not real. I don't even know. Like you said, I don't even know if it's real or not.
General Robert Nealon was a real brigadier general in the U.S. Army. See, we're learning things. We're learning things here on the show. Yeah. Another texter got in earlier. We were talking about how much we trust Texas A&M, and I said I thought maybe Texas A&M goes on the road and loses to Missouri. A texter did get in and say that Missouri's quarterback Bo Pribula is out. Well, he's not out. He rolled his ankle, and God, it's gross. Eli Drinkwitz said they had to pop it back in, and he is going to be limited, though they don't know that it is going to be a season-ending.
Yeah, it's something to monitor because he's a really good player. He's been exceptional this season. Now, also, if any Tolos out there just tuned in, Diesel, a little housekeeping here. In the 6 o'clock hour, we have potentially at 6:05, potentially Again, we think it's going to happen. We're not 100% sure. Michael Duarte, good friend of the show, he is with NBC LA, and he's going to be at Dodger Stadium. He calls into the show a lot to bring you the best Dodgers, Blue Jays insight when it comes to the World Series. Michael's going to try at like 6:05 to join us via the stream live from the field level at Dodger Stadium. So we're gonna try to get that worked out at 6:05. We also have our player of the week, Trey Segarra of Burns High School, coming up at 6:45. So a loaded show to get to here in this these final couple of hours.
Talking about early leans here in this segment for the Upset Picks Challenge beginning tomorrow at 4:00. Who are you thinking about taking? A texter says his early lean is Arizona State over Iowa State. That is an interesting one, texter, though I would caution you and say that Sam Levitt is not going to play in this game. Sam Levitt will not play against Iowa State. Kenny Dillingham has already announced that, said he retweaked his injury that took him out a couple of weeks ago. So he is not going to be playing in this game.
That's unfortunate, man. That guy's been just bitten the wrong way.
Yep.
And by the way, the 2 college games tonight, Tolos, do not count. You cannot choose them. Even though I don't think they're going to be great games, but JMU is playing tonight. James Madison's a really good football team.
What's tonight's game? JMU versus
Texas State. They're 0-3 in the Sun Belt. They're only favored. JMU is only favored by 7.5, though. And then the other game is UTEP and Kennesaw State, a Conference USA game. So those 2 games, Tolos, you cannot choose in the Upset Picks Challenge, just FYI.
That's interesting because Texas State pulled a quarterback from James Madison a few years ago, 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
Would have been a 4th year or 5th year starting senior at James Madison, but he left to go to Texas State instead. So an interesting little connection between those 2 programs. Cole, I've got 3 that I think I'm really considering.
Don't send them to your wife, please.
2 more that I might take. Okay. Let's talk through these games. Again, early leans for the Upset Picks Challenge starts tomorrow at 4:00. Pick number 1, Miami at SMU plus 12.5. We saw Carson Beck 2 weeks ago play awful football, and he bounced back last week, but it was against Stanford. So like big whoop, right? You saw SMU playing at Clemson. They're feisty. They're tenacious. They play really good defense. They don't give up. I think this is upset alert because it's on the road at SMU.
Oh, gosh. You realize what you're doing here, don't you?
I know. I'm inviting Madcraft to say, what about you?
I'm waiting on the phone lines at 844-FAN phone.
Madcraft's afraid to call in. He won't call in unless he feels like he's got a point
raise his hand,
be
right?
argued.
So this one's interesting. I just don't know. We just saw Miami falter.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about this game is we also last year in 2024, we saw Miami falter a couple of times in 2024. When I look at this game, Miami SMU, and you said it's 12.5 point spread as of right now. Mm-hmm. The question I ask is Miami going to falter twice and close to back-to-back weeks? How much the conversation you have to have is how much do you trust Miami? 12.5 point spread. That's a big spread. That'd be big though if you hit it. I just don't know if Kevin Jennings is good. I like him a lot, but how much trust do you have in Miami right now? I think that's what it comes down to.
Madcraft, there he is. He says this is Miami's first game outside of the state of Florida so far this season. That is a wild stat, man. How did they work that out?
No way. That's not true.
It's a cool thing.
That's not
you're
true.
Playing in-state teams, but not having had a road game outside of Florida yet.
So I'm looking. You played Notre Dame at Hard Rock. You played Bethune-Cookman. You played USF at home. So the first 3 games were at Hard Rock Stadium.
Uh-huh.
First 4 games. Oh, my God. Of course, you had four home games in a row.
Yeah.
How in the world that happens? Then you have a bye. Then you have Florida State. Then you have Louisville at home. Stanford at home. All right, here's the question. How do you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 home games out of 7 weeks? What am I missing here? How does that happen in college? What am I missing?
And they've only got three 3 more road games out of their next 5. So they still have 2 more home games coming up.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get 8 home. How did Miami get 8 home games?
Somebody in the ACC office is a Miami fan.
That is nuts. I didn't realize that. Well, yeah, Madcraft, it's the first one out of the state because y'all played at home every week. I did not realize that.
Cole, I'm also looking, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this one. I'm looking at Duke plus 3.5 at Clemson. Where's Cade Klubnik with his injury? I mean, he may not be all the way back to 100%, and Duke's pretty good. So
Duke is pretty good. I don't hate it. You know, I took SMU a couple of weeks ago over Clemson. This one's interesting. It's only a 3.5-point spread. What's that tell you? What does that tell you? I think that 3.5-point, Darian Mensah's a good quarterback, but I think that 3.5-point spread tells you something. Duke's 4-3. Clemson's 3-4. You said it. It's at Clemson, noon on Saturday. Diesel, I don't know. 3.5 points. Okay, let's give Clemson 3 points for being at home. So Vegas is telling us that Clemson right now is 1.5 better than Duke. Basically, it's a coin flip game, is what Vegas is telling us here. That's interesting. I don't hate it in terms of just hitting on a pick. If you had to pick that game right now, who would you pick? Just to win outright.
I'd pick Duke. I'd pick Duke to win that game. I don't have any trust in this Clemson team. I don't have any trust in their defense. I don't have any trust in their running game. They are such a one-sided team in like a 6-sided game.
So what you're saying is picking against Clemson in the upset picks challenge is just the easy answer this year?
Feels like it.
It was easy against SMU because that game was never really in doubt.
I mean, would you have taken SMU as your upset pick if Cade was healthy?
Probably not, no. But then again, I wouldn't have taken Syracuse for 14.5 or 17.5 over Clemson a couple of weeks ago either.
Sure.
I'll tell you this. Let's ride the train till the train runs out of gas. I'm with you. It's only 3.5 or trains run out of gas. What do trains operate?
Some of them run on diesel fuel.
Diesel fuel.
Yeah.
Until they run out of diesel fuel. I'm with you. I guess let's just ride this horse till it can't go anymore. Clemson, though, I mean, are they going to lose another game at home? I mean, surely, good God, Diesel, I mean, this can't continue, can it?
Like, I mean, if you're losing to SMU, Duke, Syracuse, and LSU at home,
I don't know, man. That goes back to my whole point yesterday with Grayson, man. You know, it was like, season's a wash. I was sitting in a buddy of mine's office this morning, and he's a Clemson fan. We were talking about Clemson. And I told him, I said, that's my biggest issue right now is that this fan base, and Clemson fans tell me if you disagree, this fan base is content just mailing it in on the season. That it doesn't matter.
There's a lot of, it's okay. It's okay for us to have a terrible season.
Well, let me ask you this. Are they still getting NIL paychecks?
Yeah.
Are those coaches, are their checks still clearing every Friday?
Every single thing was stacked for you to be a national championship contender this season.
I don't want to hear it.
Head coach, OC, DC, 4th-year quarterback, elite players all over the offense, elite for NFL draft picks all over the defense. And I'm sorry, that's unacceptable. I don't understand how and why Clemson fans won't wake up and say it out loud.
I think it's pathetic that the fan base, I'm not saying the entire fan base, but I think it's pathetic that any Clemson fan out there on this 28th day of October is content with mailing the season in because, like I said, those players are still getting paid millions. Those coaches are still getting paid millions. And you as a fan are spending thousands and sometimes more than thousands of dollars to go support the state, support the team rather. And you're telling me that we're just going to mail it in against Duke? This is pathetic, guys. I mean, let's call it like it is here. That's embarrassing. You should expect to beat Duke. You should expect to beat Florida State too. I mean, come on, this is Clemson we're talking about. Well, that standard's gone. If that's the case, if you're content with it, you just go ahead and take that standard off because that standard's long gone.
My next game I'm looking at, Cole, early leans for the Upset Picks Challenge. I'm looking at USC at Nebraska plus 6.5. Maeva versus Raiola. 200 yards separate these two quarterbacks as far as the yards that they've tallied over the course of the season, but both are really good. Nebraska's got a slightly better running back in Emmett Johnson. Night game, home field advantage for Nebraska. 6.5-point home dogs against the Trojans. I like Nebraska a lot in this one.
What's
This
the
might be
spread
my
on
pick.
it?
6.5.
Yeah, I don't hate that one. I hadn't looked at that one yet. When is that? Do you have that?
It's the night game, the 7:00 game on Saturday. Right? That's a really compelling game.
It is. Only 6. It'd be interesting to see if that line moves between now and tomorrow at 3 when they're locked in.
Yeah. USC 5-2, Nebraska 6-2. USC's 3-1 in the Big Ten. Nebraska's 3-2 in the Big Ten. Nebraska, I mean, I know they don't have a signature conference win yet. They beat Northwestern, Maryland, and Michigan State. They lost by 3 to Michigan. They got blown out at Minnesota.
Now, the one that I want to bring up is Utah-Cincinnati at 10:15.
Yeah.
This is one of those weird ones again. So, look, Utah beat the doors off of Deion Sanders on Saturday. Like, beat the brakes off of him. It was embarrassing. So, Utah's legit. I think we can all say they're definitely a top 25 team. They're 6-2, 3-2 in the Big 12. Diesel, Cincinnati, though, I think this is the most intriguing game this weekend because of the point spread.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is 7-1, 5-0 in the Big 12, going against a 6-2 Utah team who's lost 2 games in the Big 12. They're also ranked 17. Utah's ranked 24th. Utah at home is an 8.5-point favorite over 7-1 Cincinnati. Again, this is one of those what am I missing kind of games.
Cincinnati doesn't have the strongest defense. I mean, look at they put up 41 at home against Baylor, gave up 20.
So they're overranked is what you're telling me.
They put up 49 on the road at Oklahoma State, but it's Oklahoma State, right? Against a quality Iowa State team, final score 38-30, Cincinnati win. Against Kansas, 37-34. Against Nebraska, they lost that game to start the season, 20-17. They can score, right? The last couple of weeks, they are putting up points, 41, 49, 20.
That's a Big 12. That's Big 12 for you, though.
70 against Northwestern State and 34 against Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Good. They're putting up a lot of points against the bottom half of the Big 12, against unranked Big 12 opponents, but they're also giving up, 25, 30 points a game.
And I'm sorry, Dan B. I just looked at the stream for the first time in a few minutes, and I saw that Dan B. also put that game out there in the ether. Cincinnati, Utah. He asked the question, why is number 17 such a dog to number 24? So I think that's where it becomes intriguing, Dan. You have to just take those rankings off in a way, right? Because to your point, 17 should be favored over 24 because you're talking about 7 spot. I mean, that to his point there, I think he's right. I don't know if I'm taking that one. You've got me intrigued with Clemson. I just
but that one's worth 3.5.
I know,
is that enough?
But my God, betting
point?
against Clemson right now is like looking outside and see if this, if the clouds. I mean, the sky's blue.
Well,
I mean,
another one that you might be a little more interested in than that is Mississippi State plus 4.5 at Arkansas. Combined, these two teams have lost 10 straight games. You got to think the Mississippi State is a better football team than Arkansas. 3 of their last 4 losses, which again, all 4 of them have been straight losses, they've been close football games. I mean, Mississippi State is losing games, but they're losing close.
Yeah.
They're at Arkansas. Arkansas's lost 6 in a row.
So what? Time out. What's the spread on that one?
4.5. Mississippi State plus 4.5 on the road at Arkansas.
Arkansas is favored. So golly, there's some to choose from this week. I felt like last week I couldn't find one. Like I just had nothing piqued my interest last week. And now I've got like 4 or 5. That Clemson one's intriguing. Let me look at that one real quick before we run to a break.
Tolo, this is me.
Don't give any of those to your wife because she'll probably pick them and get them right.
Texter says Diesel, and I'm sorry to do this to you, Cole. Texter says Diesel, can you have Cole define what a question is?
The text says
Question.
Quashton. Question. I don't know what a question is, Texter. I know what a question. That's what I question.
He enunciates. He enunciates clearly.
I don't know what a question is.
Is this the same texter that was all over Rob for using poor grammar at the end of his show?
Yeah, it's the grammar police today.
Texter at the end of Rob's show says it's all of a sudden, not all of the sudden. Please fix your grammar.
All of a sudden, all of these. Yeah, it is all of a sudden.
It's not the same texter, though.
It's not?
No, it's not.
The grammar police is out and about today, man. Yeah. No, I guess I didn't. Mine's not grammar. Mine's more pronunciation.
Christy Mann is the only texter that we're going to accept grammar corrections from. She's a teacher.
That's true.
She's the only one.
That's true. I have never said question. That's literally what you text.
That almost sounds like a name you'd hear in a player intro.
Yeah. Question Jenkins.
On a random Thursday night
high school. Game. You know, I mean, come on. What are we doing? Anyways,
I did see a guy. I saw a highlight of a guy whose name is The Realist.
Oh, I like that.
I don't know what his last name was because I was just so shocked that his name was The Realist, but it's like The Realist Jones, and I'm like, no way, nobody named their kid The Realist.
You know, I'm gonna give that Mississippi State Arkansas game a good look because Mississippi State, you know, they led Texas on Saturday and had a little bit of a lead there and choked it away. Again, that's a 4-4 Mississippi State team, 2-6 Arkansas. I'm intrigued by that one. I really am. I really am intrigued by that one. So now I've got this week might be one of those where I don't get it in on time. I may wait till Thursday.
No, don't do that. That's illegal. Penalty.
There's just a lot
flag on the play.
There's a lot of options this week. I don't know, man. This one's tough. There's some good options for the upset picks challenge. Really is. All right, Tolos, let's get back into a little bit of audio I brought up on the show yesterday. I asked you, Diesel, and I also asked the Tolos a question about Charles Barkley and Kenny. When it comes to what happened last week with Chauncey Billups and the investigation with the gambling saga, Charles and Kenny, man, they have some like fun rants sometimes, but this one I actually thought had a lot of legs to it. When it comes to like addiction being the cause for what Chauncey Billups and others got themselves into. I want to get your thoughts, Tolos, as well. I'll have the audio and our opinions and your opinion next.
There's an old saying in the hood, all money ain't good money.
We have to realize gambling is an addiction. So the addiction of it is what makes you make illogical decisions. This ain't got nothing to do with gambling and addiction. This ain't got nothing to do with addiction. These dudes are stupid. Under no circumstances can you fix basketball games. Under no circumstances. I love to gamble. The notion, like, Rozier makes $26 million. Him betting, giving people information or taking himself out of games, how much is he gonna benefit taking himself out the game to get unders? Like, he's making $26 million.
So Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, Portland Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups. Obviously, we know what happened last week. And that audio from Charles Barkley and Kenny Shaq talking about what happened. They bring up a good point. And Diesel, we touched on this yesterday, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it in this very segment. And would love to hear the thoughts of the Tolos as well. Turn it on, leave it on at 844-326-3663. You know, Chuck, if you watch this audio or listen to it, Chuck and Kenny were going back and forth about, well, it's an addiction. This is what happens when you have an addiction. It's a slippery slope, right? And I think Chuck's point was, not to like put words in his mouth, is no, it's not an addiction. It's stupidity, because you know what you're doing. You know that you're making millions and millions and millions of dollars. But for whatever reason, you choose to do something illegal, and now you're costing your family, yourself, and the league. Who do you side with here? Who do you side with in terms of the addiction being, I don't want to say an excuse, because like you, I, Tolos out there, we've all like struggled with certain things in our life and had addictions or whatever, whether it be, you know, you name it, right? There are millions of things out there to be addicted to, and gambling's one of them. But do you buy into the, I believe that the Chuck theory that addiction aside, it's more stupidity than it is addiction? Who are you side here?
Well, I used ChatGPT to give me the answer here. I asked ChatGPT briefly, what is the science behind gambling addiction? What chemicals does it produce in the brain compared to substance addiction? It says gambling addiction activates the same reward circuitry in the brain as drug addiction, mainly the mesolimbic dopamine system. And if you know anything about very basic brain physiology, the limbic brain is the basic part of the brain. It's the primitive part of the brain, the one that drives behavior.
Sure.
And funny enough, and I know I've talked about this before, it's the exact same system in the brain, the dopamine, the mesolimbic dopamine system. It's the exact same part of the brain that's triggered when you get a like on a Facebook post. And so you could compare it in some ways to social media addiction. People who will post any kind of content to get likes, to get clicks, to get people to tell them that they're pretty, whatever it may be. So gambling does trigger something very primitive in our brain. The winning triggers a feel-good response in the brain, which is similar to what some drugs do. And I'm certainly not an expert on what all different kinds of drugs do to the brain.
It's a reward experience.
It's a reward, right? Yeah. Your brain is being rewarded for gambling. Look, when I was doing an endorsement with a different gambling website or app from what you're working with now, I kind of got hooked on it too, you know, and I was lucky because ultimately I came out ahead with the seed money they gave me, plus putting a little bit of my own money in. I think I probably won about, $150.
Yeah.
And I said, well, okay, I don't want to be the person who's putting my own real money into this account because it's an endorsement, right? I'm doing this to make money as a radio host, not to make money as somebody who is good at gambling. So I got out. I stopped doing it. But I felt myself going down that same path. And it's like, oh, let me log in every now and again and see every day. to see what's going on with my picks. I'd log in 3 or 4 times during a game to see where I was with hitting the over or the under on that particular pick I made. And I said to myself, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
And I think what it all comes down to, and we'll get to the Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups side of it in a second, Diesel. But when you talk about addictions in general or gambling or whatever it is, it's the cause and the effect, right? Like you talk about doing an endorsement or doing it for fun, whether it's gambling, drinking, whatever it is, it's all a slippery slope, good or bad. But there are some people, Diesel, who can have a drink on the weekends and they have a drink. There are some people who can put a few dollars on a game on the weekend and they have a few dollars on a game. There are other people who cannot drink alcohol because they know when they drink alcohol, they can't have just one drink. It's going to turn into 2 and 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. And I guess with any addiction out there, and gambling included, you're talking about an addiction that is a slippery slope financially. And I know other addictions cost money too, but this is the slipperiest of slippery here because your money, your hard-earned money is at risk. And you ask the question, well, how could Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier be millionaires and be so stupid enough to put their hard-earned money at risk? Well, it's that slippery slope of not knowing how to control it.
It probably started with boredom and a little bit of, hey, I play this game. Like I kind of know the ins and outs of the game. I think I have a leg up on everybody else when it comes to gambling because I'm more familiar with the game. This little paragraph, Cole, here is really interesting. And it's the last sentence in this that's probably the most fascinating. It says, this is comparing drugs and how they put dopamine into your brain versus gambling or anything else you might be addicted to. Drugs directly flood the brain. Gosh, I can't talk with dopamine or affect serotonin.
Yeah.
Norepinephrine or opioids. Gambling triggers these behaviors, triggers these changes behaviorally, not chemically. Yet the outcome is comparable. Cravings, withdrawal-like irritability, and impaired control. All rooted, and this is the important part, all rooted in altered dopamine signaling and reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex, which governs decision-making and impulse control. So while you're getting that feel-good reward in the back of your brain, the front of your brain shuts off. The front of your brain that says, this is really stupid. I could get caught for this. I could get in trouble for this. Sure. I could get banned for this. I could get fined for this. All of those decision-making parts of the brain essentially get shut off. And this is scientific. This is not opinion. This is scientific. Yeah. So you're getting a yes from the part of the brain that controls behavior. You're getting a no. You're not getting the no from the part of the brain that should be telling you no.
And I think I'm no doctor either, obviously, but I think what you just described is true with most addictions. Sure. I just do. I think it's true with most addictions because nobody does it thinking, oh, this is a good idea, right? Whatever the addiction is. And Lord knows we've all had them and whatever. But, man, the reality of it is when you talk about these guys in particular with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier, I mean, to Chuck's point or Kenny's point, they're millionaires. And again, if you just tuned in, here's the full audio, not just the snippet that I played at the beginning that stemmed this conversation.
But there's old saying in the hood, all money ain't
good
money.
Wrong one. Let me, that was the first one I played. Let me play this one. This is a little bit more in depth on the debate between Chuck and Kenny.
This ain't got nothing to do with addiction. These dudes are stupid. Why are they stupid? Under no circumstances can you fix basketball games. Under no circumstances. I love to gamble. The notion, like, Rozier makes $26 million. Him betting, giving people information or taking himself out of games, how much is he gonna benefit taking himself out the game to get unders? Like, he's making $26 million. The notion he gave, how much of these guys he gave a head up? He took himself out of games on prop bets. How much money is he gonna make?
Well, if he did that, you're proving my point.
What do you mean?
That means that it's an illogical thought process. No. If you're making $26 million to try to win 50,000, like, that's illogical. So that you're proving my point.
No, that's not addiction. That's stupidity.
And I think that sides with what you were saying about the brain.
There is an important distinction here, and I haven't heard this yet from the investigation. So Terry Rozier was supplying information to gamblers that he was going to take himself out before he hit the 18.5 point over under, right?
Yeah.
We don't know, and I have not specifically heard that Terry Rozier was betting on his own unders, that Terry Rozier is a gambling addict. What we've heard is that Terry Rozier was fixing the game so that other people who were putting money on the games would win on his unders. So that is a very important distinction.
Now,
was he getting paid a percentage? Was he getting paid a flat fee? Like, hey, Terry, baby, come over here. We're going to give you $50,000 if you take a dive in the third quarter so that you don't hit the over. That is a very different thing from a gambling. That may be a money addiction. That may be a crime addiction, but it's not a gambling addiction.
But it'd be similar to me being a guy who's going into bars, Diesel, and setting up illegal poker games and participating. You don't think while I'm at that bar, I'm going to have a drink. So my point being, I don't know the answer. I'm going to assume the worst here and think if he's involved in it, he's involved in it, right? That's a good question. That's what I would assume. Now, I think and I would side with Kenny in this Chuck and Kenny debate, because I think what Kenny's saying is Chuck did prove his point. And I'll play it again one more time. You were talking about earlier the part of the brain that shuts off when you're, having these dopamine processes,
decision-making,
right? Because of the stimulants or whatever. And that kind of proves Kenny's point there, because to his point, you shouldn't be making that kind of money and be able to do those type of things. And again, I think that's true with all addictions. One more time.
Rozier makes $26 million. Him betting, giving people information or taking himself out of games, how much is he going to benefit taking himself out the game to get unders? Like, he's making $26 million. The notion he gave, how much of these guys he gave a head up, he took himself out of games on prop bets. How much money is he going to make?
Well, if he did that, you're proving my point.
What do you mean?
Yeah. That means
that's not addiction.
That's logical thought process. No. If you're making $26 million to try to win 50,000.
And I will say to that point, maybe, and I don't know this to be true, Chuck not understanding how addiction works sounds like Chuck, and thank God's never had a real struggle with addiction. Because Diesel, people who have never had addictions, there are those people out there. You call them perfect or whatever. Those people, the people who have never, had anxiety, guess what? When you've never had anxiety, you don't know what it's like to have anxiety. I don't struggle with anxiety. I don't have a clue what anxiety feels like because I've never struggled with it. My point being there, Chuck may not be the addictive personality that struggled with these type of addictions, and therefore he doesn't understand, which I think is leaning toward Kenny being right, that it all does stem from an addiction.
Well, Chuck didn't articulate his point very well, but
imagine that.
I have come around, and I'm on Chuck's side.
Are you?
I'm on Chuck's side because what Terry Rozier did, which is take himself out of games and then supply information to a bookie and say, hey, I am going to take myself out of this game before I hit the over, so bet the under. That to me that's not the same thing as addiction. That's not calling up your bookie and say, hey, put 10 grand on black. That's not opening up an app and making a bet on the app. That is choosing to understand what the spread is and to take yourself out of it. It's also not the same thing that Pete Rose did, that Pete Rose was banned from baseball for doing. Pete Rose always bet the over.
Yeah.
If the over was Pete's going to get, 3 hits today, Pete would gamble on it and say, all right, well, I'm going to go out there and hit 4.
Well, I just think
that's a different thing. That's one is cheating.
Right.
And the other one is gambling. And I think it's two different things.
Well, my point being, while it may be two different things, I think it all stems from an addiction is my point. It may be just stupidity, but I do think addictions, and that's why they're called just that, addictions, is you have this this crutch, Diesel, that allows you to go into this bad decision-making process. And what happens? It snowballs. And that snowball, when you push that snowball down the hill, next thing you know, you've got Frosty the Snowman. And Frosty the Snowman looks like Chauncey Billups with a $2 bill wrapped around the carrot, right? So that's just the reality of it. Tyler from the Berg gets in on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. He says, I read an article saying stars and athletes are more susceptible to things like this because they feel invisible or they just miss the thrill of being in the game. I blame player prop bets, though. So that's a good text and a good point, because we saw it with Michael in the documentary, the 30 for 30, not 30 for 30, The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Remember, he talked about, like, kind of to Tyler's point, when you're an athlete and you experience those highs, you want to continue that high. And
he'd gamble on anything just so he could feel a little rush from winning. JT and Greer says prop bets are creating a problem in sports because everyone knows what the bets are on them.
Prop bets are creating a problem. I think we're past that.
Well,
right?
JT, in supposedly college athletes are not, betting on themselves, but you hear point shaving situations all going down, and now the NCAA has approved their ability to gamble on NBA or professional games, but not on college games. So,
and there was news today, Diesel, that SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has asked the NCAA to rescind its ruling allowing college players and staffers to bet on pro sports.
I just wonder how many more negative anecdotal stories do we have to hear? Is there a number of negative anecdotal stories before these commissioners say, you know what, maybe being this deeply embedded with gambling companies is a bad idea? Is there even a limit to this point, or can literally anything happen? What happens when what would happen if the story wasn't Terry Rozier was arrested? Terry Rozier was murdered because he ran afoul of the wrong person.
And we've heard.
Do you think the NBA would have called up, DraftKings and said, "Sorry guys, we can't do this anymore"?
Right?
No.
When's the next check coming?
Gambled on how long the funeral was.
Yeah, and that's the whole rumor going back to The Last Dance. I mean, you remember Michael's dad? There were so many rumors about that. Speaking of violence, so it is what it is. We're here, and it's dark. It's Pete Rose is thinking, hopefully in heaven, thinking, man, that they thought this was bad. They thought what I did was bad. Well, welcome to the new landscape of sports gambling, right?
When we come back, Cole, just briefly, we're going to touch on this. I found a list of the preseason top 25 teams, and we're going to compare them to where they were from the preseason prognostications to where they are right now through 9 weeks of the college football season. Who's overperforming, who's underperforming? That's next. would it blow you away if I told you 10 of the preseason top 25 teams are currently unranked?
10
teams
of the top 20
started in the top 25. I remember just before the season started, we tried to put on our prediction hats and say, which one of these teams that's currently in the top 10 is going to fall outside of the top 25.
Yeah, I do remember
at some point this season. We talked about it. I didn't know that it was going to be this many, Cole. Three teams that started inside the top 10 are currently not ranked. Okay. Penn State, Clemson, LSU.
I would have told you there's just no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way. At least two of those three will be right.
And they're not the only ones. Texas fell out of the top 25, clawed their way back up to 20. Penn State started 2, not ranked. Ohio State, we all know where they are. Clemson started 4, not ranked. LSU started 9, not ranked.
God.
Arizona State started 11, not ranked. Not their fault. Sam Leavitt got injured. Illinois started 12, not ranked. South Carolina 13, not ranked. Michigan fell outside of the top 25, I believe, but have clawed their way back up to 21. Florida fell from 15 to not ranked. SMU fell from 16th to not ranked. Ooh. Kansas State fell from 17th to not ranked. Iowa State fell from 22nd to not ranked. It just goes to show you, as much stock as we put in the preseason top 25.
Yeah.
It's about 50-50. Honestly, I'm not surprised that teams that start outside of number 10 fall out because, they're potentially 1 or 2 losses away early in the season from being unranked. But when top 10 teams, 4 top 10 teams started the season in the top 10, fell out of the top 25, only one of them has been able to claw their way back.
That's embarrassing is what it is.
It should be.
Instead of started at the bottom, now we're here. It started at the top. Yeah. Now we're nowhere to be found. And it's surprising, but it just goes to show, I don't know how many times we talked about it this offseason, preseason rankings. What are they? I mean, what do we know? I mean, how many times on this show this summer did we say, we really don't know?
It's marketing.
We really don't know.
Rankings are marketing. It's so that for the first week of games, they can tell you that this is number 2 versus number 12. And that is more entertaining than just saying that it is, let me pull the rankings back up here, that is Penn State versus Illinois. But you could say number 2 versus number 12.
Well, you've got to have something on it to build hype and to build storylines and unfortunately to give guidance later on in the season when those teams are nowhere to be found, right? And the committee's going to look back and say, well, this team had 4 ranked wins. Well, none of those 4 ranked teams are ranked anymore. So what does that really mean? So unfortunately, it is true. We might have time, Diesel, to get to what Dabo Swinney had to say in the very next segment. We do that on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock, but we believe we have Michael Duarte of NBC LA joining us at like 6:05. So we might get a few minutes of Dabo. We might not. We might go. Tolos, we might take you on a road trip to LA live on the field from Dodger Stadium. Michael Duarte of NBC LA going to join the stream. You can watch the show and watch Michael live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's next. Final hour of the show. Final chance, Tolos, for you to get your thoughts in on anything we have discussed today. Any questions that you have, you can submit those to 844-326-3663. That sounds weird. I never said that word until today because the texter brought it up, and I'm going to continue to do so. And Diesel, we're going to get to Dabo Swinney here in a second. We have Michael Duarte of NBC LA coming up, hopefully live from Dodger Stadium. But I forgot. We have neglected the Tolos this week. We have forgotten something that we need to plan live on the air. Today's Tuesday. I think we can do it maybe Thursday, maybe Thursday at 5, since the Tolos hadn't been wanting to take over much lately, or maybe Friday. We have not done and I think we did this last year, but we've got to settle the debate on the Halloween candy bracket. We've got to figure out which candy is the candies of candies, because Halloween, did you know Halloween was Friday?
Yeah, it is.
Halloween's Friday. And I'll have high school football that night. I won't be trick-or-treating. Are you going trick-or-treating?
Not on Friday, but I am going to be at a bar called Roots Tavern on Highway 75 in between I-85 and Clemson. So it used to be called Hogtails. If you know Hogtails, if you're going to Clemson, it was on the left-hand side, about halfway, kind of over by, what was that? Tri-County Tech, I think.
Yeah.
Over in that area, I'll be there emceeing their Halloween costume contest and their live band on stage on Saturday.
Saturday night?
Yeah.
Saturday night. So if you want to go see Diesel, do that on Saturday. Now, the trick-or-treating, obviously we all did it as a kid, but I have a weakness for the Halloween candy. And I've been trying to eat better lately and lose some lbs, but man, lately, in the past week, people all of a sudden are just showing up with their pockets just overflowing with Halloween candy. Yeah. And I was somewhere today, and, the lady at the front desk, hey, here's some sour Skittles, which are my weakness, by the way. So I've been indulging already, but we do need to formulate our Halloween candy bracket.
How many of our Tolos bought Halloween candy with the intention of giving it out early, like weeks ago, ate it all, then had to go buy more? Because that is pretty much what's going on at my house. My wife bought a couple of bags of candy, and she said, don't use what's in this jar. These are the fun size. These are the ones we're going to give away to the kids.
Yeah, too bad.
Use what's in this bag up here. The bag's gone.
Yeah.
The bag is gone.
I will say I was at Ingles yesterday or the day before, one of the either Sunday or Monday, and I was I was walking here. This is why it's so bad at my local Ingles. You walk to the aisle like the protein stuff is, like the protein bars, the sports supplements. Where my local Ingles, you literally walk down the aisle to like where the protein bars are, and on the left, to walk by or to walk to the protein bars, you have to walk past the entire Halloween section. Every candy you can think of. Skittles, Three Musketeers, whatever it is. Like I said, sour Skittles are my just absolute top dog. But you and I, Diesel, we would, go through a bracket pretty quickly if it were your and I favorite. So how do we have to do it? Do we need to formulate a bracket with entries and then go through the bracket with, I think we did the Tolos vote on the best, right? Whoever receives, whichever candy receives the most votes. I think that's pretty good. So how about this? We win tomorrow's Wednesday. Wednesday. Yep. I thought we were going to start calling it Wednesday.
Yeah, you can.
Maybe tomorrow.
With this weather, for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. Tomorrow we gather the entries.
Yeah.
For the bracket.
I think we should keep it small.
12?
12 or 8.
12
or 8.
How would 12
work just like the college football playoffs?
True. Yeah, let's do 12.
You have to. There's a play-in round. Yeah. And then the round of 8.
Well, I like that. Yep. So if we get the 12 entries tomorrow during one of the segments, we can put them on the bracket, have them ready to go for Thursday, and then the Tolos can decide.
You're trying to kill me, by the way, with upset picks coming in, and I got to copy and paste.
I'll do the brackets. I'll do the brackets. You're busy enough.
Trying to kill me.
You're busy enough with the upset picks. I'll do the brackets.
Can I say this? I think Halloween has gotten pretty lame.
I think it's always been lame.
It's gotten really lame. Like a lot of parents have already done their trick-or-treating activities with their little kids. Like I've seen it. I've had friends say that
what do you
their
call
kids
them?
already dressed like
the trunk or treats.
Yeah, the trunk or treats. They have them do it at their kids' school or church or whatever it may be. And these things all happen like days and days and days before Halloween. And then once Halloween comes around, very few people even do it anymore. Like in my neighborhood, it's a fairly big, complex. Most houses
at the bottom of the mountain
do.
in Greenville.
Yeah,
the gated one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you think I work in radio, bro? I don't have gated money, gated
I know what you're talking
kind of money.
Yeah,
but like maybe 1 or 2 out of 5 houses even gives out candy. Most people just turn their lights off.
Yeah,
on Halloween, they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to have people knocking at the door. They don't want to have their dogs get all riled up again and again. And Halloween has just turned really lame.
I like the candy. That's pretty much the gist of it for me. I don't really get big into it, but the candy, yeah, sign me up. Chocolate, Crunch Bars, Kit Kats, sour Skittles.
There's a new kind of like Snickers bar. That big bag of candy that my wife had. It only had like 2 of them in there, but it's kind of like it's kind of like a wafer bar.
Oh yeah,
but it's chocolate and caramel all mixed in. I got a little
Halloween. Look at like has graced us with his presence on the stream. Michael Duarte of NBC joins the show live on the stream. If you're watching the show on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, or listening on the Fan Upstate, Michael Duarte of NBC LA. He is live at Dodger Stadium. And Michael, where exactly are you at this evening?
I'm gonna let you guys take a guess, and for all your listeners, as you said, if you're watching, run to watch this on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're at. Watch the live stream. Here we are inside the Dodgers dugout on the field here at Dodger Stadium. What are we, less than 2 hours ahead of Game 4 of the World Series. Let me try to turn this camera around for you and give you an inside perspective. Let's watch this.
I'm so jealous. Look at this.
Look at this. See the media all lined up.
Yeah.
And here we go. We're going to head out on the field right now.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. We're going out on the field.
We're going on the field. Look at this. Michael Duarte. You got to be watching the stream right now.
I could probably get
listening on the radio.
Even closer as we look at batting practice.
Let's see if
go
we can make
through. So this is where I'm stationed up for NBC. These are the locals. Here we are on the field at Dodger Stadium. I'm going to go behind home plate for you guys.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. Michael, can you give us a sense of how zippy
Here's
some of these players
Walter,
look?
The owner of the Dodgers, watching some batting.
Owner of the Dodgers, just standing right there.
We're having a little bit of
it's a lag.
Delay and lag, kind of talking back and forth. Maybe Michael, as he's getting behind home
I'm
plate,
going to head over the Blue Jays dugout now.
Yeah, maybe he can reach the Wi-Fi
plane
signal
in
up
the
there.
sky, flying over Dodger.
Oh my!
You guys get me or not yet?
Yeah,
we got you.
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit, but we're just in awe, man. It's that is fantastic. We're living vicariously through you right now.
Yeah, work with me here.
Look at that.
Yeah, let's go in the Blue Jays dugout.
Oh my gosh, this guy. This guy.
Here we go. Here's your Blue Jays bats and helmets tonight.
That's awesome.
I'm not trying to. I don't want to get them hot. Bo Bichette's bats.
So, good crowd yet, Michael? Good crowd starting to file in, or are they still tired from last night?
I mean, I'm tired from last night. I don't know if the crowd's coming in. I didn't get to bed, guys. Here we go. Turn this around. I didn't get to bed, guys, until 5:30 a.m. Back up at 9:30 a.m. So a little 4 hours of nap. This is where we're set up here. Here's Alex. Mario Solis eating a Dodger dog. Right here, guys. This is where we are setting up doing our live on the field right now.
That's good stuff.
Wow.
That's good stuff.
Michael, if you can hear me, Michael, how much zip
I
do
can
these
hear you. I can
players
see you.
have? Do they look tired? Do they look exhausted, or are they ready to go?
I mean, they tell me they're ready to go. They say they took sleep aids last night, got as much sleep as they could. They got their Gatorades, their electrolytes, replenishing as much as they can. I have no idea if they really did that or not. I think you wake up and you feel okay. Like even me on 4 hours of sleep right now and a lot of coffee feels okay. But that's the difference between feeling that way and then going out there and playing in a very intense, highly stressful, really focused World Series game. So I think we're going to see if they are really, feeling refreshed or not once we get into like 5th, 6th, 7th inning, deep waters of this game.
Michael, with 19 some odd pitchers going last night, what should fans expect tonight?
I hope a normal game. I hope a normal 9-inning game is what fans can expect. But look, what you guys can't see here on the screen is that this is like 93 degrees here on the field right now. My understanding is it will probably be more than 90 degrees once we have first pitch a little after 5 p.m. And I think that cramping could be an issue tonight. I know Shohei Ohtani was cramping in the later innings last night. Dave Roberts asked him if he wanted to come out of the game. He said no, of course. I think these guys need, whether it's pickle juice, Gatorade, Pedialyte, electrolytes, they need to do whatever they can to stay hydrated and not be cramping, because I think the heat's going to become an issue for these guys after that 18-hour marathon last night.
Michael, where are you going to be posted up for this game covering? And is there a particular little storyline that you're focusing on that you want to try to get an answer to?
Great question. So I will be posted up. I'm just going to show you since I'm here. You see that? See the welcome to Dodger Stadium sign up there?
Uh-huh.
See the M in stadium?
Yeah.
M for Michael, I guess. I'll be right above that. 3rd row in the back there. That is where you will find me posted up during the game, behind home plate, elevated looking down on the field. As far as storylines are concerned, I think what you guys just said about how physically these guys are going to be able to perform after that 18-hour game in the heat, 90-plus degrees here, as I said, for first pitch. And moreover, Shohei Ohtani pitching on the mound at Dodger Stadium for the first time in the World Series. The first time he ever pitched at Dodger Stadium as a pitcher and a hitter in the postseason was Game 4 of the NLCS. He hit 3 home runs, 6 shutout innings, 10 punchies. I think that's a big storyline, what he's going to do for an encore here in Game 4 of the World Series.
Michael, what do you make of, my last question for you, by the way, what do you make of Freddie Freeman? Like, as good as Shohei Ohtani is, what do you make of Mr. World Series now 2 years in a row? Is this guy, etching himself and is one of the greatest of all time?
Yeah, and don't forget, 2021 had an amazing World Series run with the Braves, beating the hated Houston Astros. So Freddie Freeman is absolutely incredible. There's no moment too big for him. He's absolutely clutch. And look, he was talking about this last night with me. You dream about this as little kids, hitting a game-winning walk-off home run to win a World Series. He was able to do that last year in Game 1 of the World Series, went on to win MVP. To have a chance to do it twice and to do it to put the exclamation mark on, an instant classic, one of the longest games in World Series history, tied with the 2018 Game 3 here at this same field. I don't know. You can't write this stuff or make it up. And so for him to be able to thrive in those moments, the ones you dream about as a kid, is just really incredible.
Well, Michael, comparing your sunny and 93 on the field to our rainy and 52 degrees in South Carolina, I'd much rather be where you are. Pinch yourself a few times tonight, whether it's to wake yourself up or to appreciate the fact that you're there for a Game 4 of the World Series. Have a ball, and we'll be following along with you on Twitter.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, guys. I told you I'd give you the behind-the-scenes view. I'm glad we got to do this. Everybody enjoy the game. And like Drake says, hopefully the Dodgers can go back-to-back.
There you go.
Michael Duarte,
so
man. Fantastic stuff. And he did. He promised us last week when we talked to him that he would do it. And I'm glad the lag went away there. He must have had better service. That's awesome. That's really, really awesome, man. I'm so envy. I mean, I envy that guy right now. That's awesome.
At Michael J. Duarte is where you can find him on Twitter. Michael J. Duarte. That's his handle. He is posting all kinds of on-field videos of warm-ups from the Dodgers from about 20 minutes ago. He was posting some video of Mookie Betts taking grounders during batting practice. So not only does he come on the show and give us the live shot of what's happening there right now, said, oh, that's the owner of the team. Oh, that's so-and-so that you see on TV all the time. He's also posting those videos from field level. And it's cool, fantastic. Man. When we come back, Cole, let's talk South Carolina Gamecocks with Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central. He's been in the room multiple times with Shane Beamer since that tough loss to Alabama. How are they weathering that storm? We'll hear about it next.
Don't.
It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Time to jump back into the weeds of South Carolina football with Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central. Jack, you were in the room on Saturday after the game. I'm sure Shane Beamer quite sallow in that opportunity to meet with him. How was he earlier today, and how has he been over the last few days? Has Shane been a goldfish? Has he turned it right back around and turned that positivity back on, or is that loss kind of dragging him down a little bit?
Doing pretty good, I think, guys. I mean, we spoke to him earlier today, and typically the way it goes, I was not on the teleconference on Sunday because I was at basketball, but I think with him, it's always, from my understanding and just listening to him talking a lot, it's always Saturday's a bit, frustrated after the game if they lose, happy on Saturday if they win. Sunday typically is always a bit more gloomy and doomy, like it's Sunday. Everyone kind of feels that way, to be honest, but it's more so amplified when they lose. And then Tuesday's typically back to normal, pretty good, moving on to the next week. There's not always a ton of carryover, but he was pretty good today.
Jack, I'll ask you the same question I asked one of our Clemson guests on the show yesterday, because both programs in a tough spot here in 2025. Do you believe that what's happening, in the rest of the country, across the country, with Brian Kelly, James Franklin, maybe Mike Norvell, Billy Napier, do you feel like that has any effect on the thoughts and processes of those in charge, like a Jeremiah Donati, when it comes to Shane Beamer's future at South Carolina?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You mentioned all those jobs that are open, Cole. I mean, it's astonishing how many are open right now, and it's not even Halloween yet. Like, we still have another month to go in the regular season, and then there's the bowl games and the playoffs. Like there's still a lot of season left to go, and coaches have been fired for. I mean, it feels like forever ago since Virginia Tech fired their coach all the way back in week 3. Deshaun Foster getting fired. I mean, it's just been crazy to think about how many coaches are gone. And I actually spoke with Jeremiah the other day. You mentioned Donati after a Board of Trustees meeting on Friday. Briefly just talked to him about Beamer and if he feels supported or if he's supporting him and whatnot. And he said yes. And that he believes that Shane's going to be able to get the thing turned around. He knows he could always talk to him about anything, and however he can help, he's willing to do so. So the interesting thing here is that Jeremiah did not make the hire with Shane. That was Ray Tanner when he was AD here at South Carolina. So that is interesting, to just keep in mind. But I think the consensus around here is that Shane is going to be here heading into next season, and then you figure out from there. That'll be a discussion for another day, more so about, okay, what does his future look like maybe next year? But I think he's good to go for right now.
Jack, going a little big picture here, not a specific question about South Carolina, but these giant buyouts that the guys like Billy Napier and Brian Kelly are getting, these were supposed to prevent the midseason firings. This was supposed to be that speed bump that made boosters say, whoa, we don't want to come up with $60 million to tell somebody to go away. In your mind, what is the tipping point? Because these are only going to keep going up. What is the tipping point at which boosters, even at the biggest schools with the richest fan base, will say, that is just too much for us to fire somebody in week 5?
It's a good question. I don't know necessarily what the limits are. I don't know exactly what goes on at all these other programs that are firing their coaches and X, Y, and Z about which donors are doing what and all that. But I think you hear about it online that there are frustrated donors all the time, like that are trying to. I think it was Billy Napier before he got fired. I think it was last year that was that rumor out there that I think they did have whatever Florida's Board of Trustees, whatever their equivalent is over there, they were supposed to meet or something. I think I read last year, and that the donors were coming up with enough money to get rid of Billy. This is last year before he got fired. This a few weeks ago. So I don't think there's really any limits. I think you see Norvell, you see Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. It's kind of surprising those coaches haven't been fired yet, considering they've had long leashes at their programs that have done absolutely nothing. So I think it's just, you see the buyouts. I mean, Mike Norvell and his staff, it's going to cost over $100 million to move on from all those guys. And it's the same thing at LSU with Brian Kelly. I just think you look at each fan base, you look at the donors that they have at these schools and stuff. I think it's a case-by-case basis, I think, of which schools are willing to make the moves, because not everyone can just say, hey, let's pony up $100 million and let's get rid of these guys. Because also, it's not just that. You have to make a hire after that too, and hire a whole new staff. So it's a lot that needs to be considered when you're making these kind of, in my opinion, pretty rash moves.
Jack, just imagine being a rich LSU donor who was hit up for, and I don't know what Coach O's buyout was at the time. Let's say you're hit up for $10 million to get rid of Coach O. You're still paying that off. And then 3.5 years later, they're hitting you up again for money to fire Brian Kelly. I mean, how many times would you let somebody take money out of your pocket to pay somebody not to coach at your school anymore?
I mean, it's insane what people are willing to do just to move on from a coach. I mean, and here's the thing: you're not given a ton of time to get this thing right. I mean, you're LSU. Whoever the next coach is going to be, they're going to have 3 years max, maybe, to get this thing right. Like, people are going to. People get a free pass in year one because you're coming in, the new thing. You know, Brian Kelly set the bar pretty high in year one by going to the SEC championship and never got back to that level again with 8 and 9 win seasons. And now they're 5-3 this season out in Baton Rouge. So, I mean, I think most people would accept that type of success, but LSU's different and Florida's different. And I think you could argue Penn State's different. I mean, these programs, they're not patient, and fans, as we all know, are not patient either. One thing goes wrong in one game, team could be 10-0, and something goes wrong in one game. It's, oh, fire this guy, fire that guy. The solution always seems to be fire this coach, fire that coach.
Tell me what's coming up.
It doesn't always work out. You know, what's the saying? You know, be careful what you wish for. Moving on from Brian Kelly might seem like the right move right now. Or moving on from James Franklin may seem to be the best move, but is it going to be that way in 3-4 years when, shoot, you might be right back here again, having to cough up another $50 to $100 million? It's a lot to think about.
Jack, do you believe it's outlandish for Gamecock fans to want Shane Beamer fired?
Yes, I do. I think it's a bit crazy because go back to, how many months has it been? Almost a year now since they beat Clemson, and everyone's talking. I can't remember exactly, so I'm paraphrasing here, but, you know, Beamer's the savior. Beamer's the greatest. All the singing his praises for beating the Tigers and having a great year, winning 9 games, and you give him the contract extension, and everyone's excited that this is the man for the job. And now you got people actually out here wanting to run him out of town. That's
Tell me what's coming up.
I think Shane has done a pretty good job over the years. Yes, this season has not been
high school football
the way
playoff
the one you were hoping
Lou
for.
Best Jack
But I think we also have to remember, I think the
3:22.
expectations were just set way too high for this program coming off of last season, just because of everything they lost, and that, you know, teams are pretty good in this conference, and that's always going to be tough to win in the SEC.
Tell me what's coming.
I think it would be a little bit crazy for people to want Shane Beamer fired right now, because I just think he's done enough to earn another year, in my opinion. Not just based on this season, but as the body of work as a whole.
So, Jack, help us out for those who don't know the process of hiring an offensive coordinator, because there's a very high likelihood at the end of the season there's going to be a new one coming to Columbia. Is Shane in charge of hiring that new offensive coordinator? Does he have help? How many hands are sort of involved in making that decision?
Yes. Ultimately, it's going to be Shane Beamer's decision, as it was with Marcus Satterfield, with Dow Loggins, with Mike Shula. There's definitely input from others, I would say. But at the end of the day, it's Shane's decision. I would say Jeremiah Nannati is definitely involved in those conversations. But this is Shane's program, and he's going to hire who he thinks is best for the job. And obviously it needs to get approved by the Board of Trustees. So there are a lot of different voices in that discussion, but it's Shane's program. And whether it is wanting to move on from Mike Shula after season's end, I think we still need to let this season play out and see. Because if he hasn't been let go yet, I think you just let him go the rest of the year at this point and just see what can happen, because the offense was better. I think, as much as everyone wants to get rid of Mike Shula, guys, I think the play calling was fine on Saturday against Alabama. It was not the reason you necessarily lost the game. There were other things that went wrong in that game for South Carolina to blow that lead. But the offense can continue to be better. They have to be, because one game does not change everyone's opinion on what the body of work looks like on the whole.
Jack, what do you think the biggest downfall was Saturday into the reason that South Carolina was not able to close that game out against Alabama?
Yeah, I think the big issue closing out that game was just, you got to give black credit to Alabama, first off.
Sure.
The way they were able to just, after Lenora scores the touchdown with like 10 minutes to go, Alabama goes on an insanely good drive, a championship level football team type of drive where you're going nearly 8 minutes down the field. It's not just scoring a touchdown, but you're getting the 2-point conversion as well on somewhat of a trick play. That's impressive. And for as rough as things look for Ty Simpson at times, and that offense, they stepped up when it mattered most and made the plays. And the defense for South Carolina, which played really well throughout the day, did not get the job done when it mattered most. And that's where I think you talk about, all right, well, Alabama stepped up in the fourth quarter and South Carolina didn't. So that's the difference between winning and losing in this conference.
Jack, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet a lot, Jaden Sellers, but he had a pretty monster day when you consider he only had 3 receptions along of 22 yards. Talk about the connection that Lenoris and Jaden have. And are you a little disappointed that this might be just a one and done opportunity to see those two play on the same field?
Yeah, it would be a little disappointing, wouldn't it? I think their connection's been pretty good over the last 2 games. Shane joked today with us in media availability that they've got Jaden in the slot. And before Jaden became that guy in the slot, Sellers had, or I should say Lenoris, hadn't been throwing a ton to the others at that slot position. So, and now he's throwing a lot to Jaden. So it's like, Shane's like, oh, hold up now. So it's funny in that regard, but yeah, no, the connection's been really good. And that 4th and 12 play, that's a really good play call by Mike Shula, and just an efficiently job well done for Sellers to take a few steps to his left, find Jaden on the other end there to make that catch. And it was a really nice play. And yeah, their connection's been good so far.
Is there any part of you that thinks maybe Jaden being there for his sophomore season next year might tug on Lenoris's heartstrings a little bit to stick around one more year?
That's a good question. Here's my thing. Before Saturday against Alabama, I would have said, look, Lenoris has not really shown me that he's that first-round NFL draft pick type of quarterback that we know he can be, to go out there and play like the way he had been. Hadn't shown me that throughout the season, to where I'm like, oh, maybe he would benefit from coming back for another year. But then you see the performance he does have against Alabama. It was very good in my opinion. You could talk about the fumble all you want. That's a play that's always going to be there, that is always going to be talked about. But what needs to be talked about is the way he played throughout that entire game. The interception was not on him. The completion rate wasn't necessarily the highest, but still, he gave you a chance to win that football game and made some really spectacular plays. So he's, in my opinion, I don't know what is going to happen at the end of the year with that decision, but right now, I mean, he looked like a quarterback that would be taken to the first round. I see what the NFL scouts are seeing with that performance he had on Saturday.
Well, Jack, it doesn't get much easier, man. This Saturday, we all know this gauntlet continues for South Carolina, this time on the road at Ole Miss, the 7th ranked team. South Carolina 3-5 going against 7-1 Ole Miss. 12.5 point favorite are the Rebels, and we know how this game went last year. Not really a close contest. Does this one have any inclination in your mind that it's going to be different in terms of it being a close contest?
I think it could be. We still need to see more out of this offense for me to feel like, okay, they can go out there and match punch for punch with what Ole Miss does. Because it's not just their offense that's good with Trinidad Chambliss. It's the defense is good. And they're just a good, well-oiled machine that can cause a lot of problems for South Carolina. My thought is this game could either be entering blowout territory, or it could be that South Carolina is in a dogfight. I think that is what we're going to see on Saturday. It's one or the other, and I don't know necessarily if the Gamecocks have enough in them to win it, but I will say after the performance they had against Alabama, I think they could honestly go out here, and if they play like that again, they got a chance, in my opinion.
And then, Jack, to give you a preview of what we're going to touch on in the very next short segment, we saw Kellen Moore bench Spencer Rattler on Sunday, midway through that loss to Tampa Bay, and it has been announced that the Saints will start rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck over Spencer Rattler. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, and apparently that's for the rest of the season. Yeah. So, look, I felt like this was going to happen at some point. First off, Spencer was not Kellen Moore's quarterback when he came in. Sure. Did not draft him. That was the previous staff. And, let's face it, guys, Spencer was a 5th-round draft pick. And if there's any sort of slip up at any point, which he'd been playing really well for most of the season, but did not play well on Sunday, and you see the results are because of that, where he's getting benched now for the guy that Kellen Moore drafted. And it's not like Tyler Shuck is, this all-world quarterback. I don't think he's going to be any good, and especially in the Saints offense, where you see Rattler couldn't succeed. I don't think Tyler Shuck is going to succeed either. So, I don't like it for Rattler. It stinks. It's a tough situation to be in, but the guy's a next level professional, and I think he's going to end up somewhere on his feet, whether it's back with the Saints after the season or somewhere else. I mean, I hope he gets into a good situation, because he was playing pretty well, and then to see him get benched after a little bit of a tough stretch. I mean, what do you expect out of the guy? I mean, it's an awful team, awful organization right now. It's a tough spot for any quarterback to be in.
Jack, you're a pro. We appreciate your insights, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Thanks, fellas. See you then.
side. Right up the middle of the field. Segarra 30, Segarra 20, 15, 10. Segarra pushed out of bounds, or did he score? Waiting on the call. Touchdown, Rebels. Trey Segarra once again from 46 yards out, Lane Fowler. That's a 46-yard touchdown run. Time to talk to that guy, Trey Segarra, our Fan Upstate High School Player of the Week for Week 9, 255 yards, 4 touchdowns, hauled in a couple of receptions as well. Trey, a big night for you, man. You've been playing football for a few years, but how special was your performance on Friday?
Yeah, that was one of my best games. I had a lot of fun. Everybody did a good job. Everybody executed, so they made that game a whole lot of fun.
Trey, is there a zone that you get into when you're in a game that you're performing to that level? And I mean, for you, it's probably every week, but is there a specific zone that you go into that you just feeling it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, flow state is definitely a real thing. You can feel it when you get in the game. And you get that first one, maybe that first and that second one, and you just know it's going to be a good night. That's how I felt last Friday.
What was it, Trey, in particular Friday night against Spartanburg that they were doing defensively that maybe allowed you to have such success? Walk us through that for somebody out there listening that may not understand how a running back can pick and choose the holes, be patient, and have such a big night like you did. Walk us through Friday night.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say as much what they were doing defensively, really what we were doing offensively. The O-line was getting a lot of push, and so they made my reads really easy. And we had a great game plan, good run plays, and so it went all too hard for me. But all I had to do was do my job and execute.
Talking to Trey Segarra, Burns running back who went off against Spartanburg on Friday night. How much input does Reggie Shaw allow you to give junior running back when you're seeing something on the field that he can't necessarily see from the sideline? If it's a defensive tackle that's over pursuing, or if it's an end that's kind of struggling with lateral movement, can you get in your coach's ear and say, hey, let me run it off that guy?
Yeah, so the team is definitely player-led. And we have a lot of input in how the game goes, and he trusts what we see on the field. And so that was part of that game. I can remember one time the linebackers, he was crashing really hard and making his read really early. And so I made that adjustment, and we called a play, and the very next play I scored on the outside zone.
I love it. Talking to Trey Segarra, the Fan Upstate Player of the Week for Week 9. Also, you mentioned your offensive line, Trey. I don't know if you ever saw this on tape, but on your 6-yard touchdown Friday night when your quarterback handed you the ball, Kane handed you the football, and I said it on the radio, as soon as he handed you the ball, he put his hands up before you even got to the line of scrimmage. Could you see that hole that he saw as well?
Yeah, for sure. I could see it. As soon as I got the ball, I knew I was getting in the end zone.
Trey, is there a play that you guys have worked on in practice? Maybe it's this year, maybe it's last year, that there's a very low likelihood that you'll ever get a chance to run that you're just itching to put out there on the field?
A play,
like a trick play or a weird formation?
We got a little something. I can't say too much yet because we haven't ran it yet.
There you go.
There's a surprise coming for sure.
Trey, when you look at this season, man, obviously the Rebels have one more this Friday night at Boiling Springs, and then the postseason just around the corner. What's your mindset and the team's mindset as well on what you guys can accomplish this season?
Yeah, so obviously those 3 losses, those games didn't go exactly how we planned on them going, but from the beginning of the year to now, the team, the culture stayed the same. We all believe that we can win the state championship, and that's the ultimate goal. And the main focus now is taking those steps to make sure that we can reach it at the end.
Trey,
being detailed now.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there. What do you mentioned those 3 losses, Trey. What in particular do you think the team learned in those 3 losses that you guys can use to benefit you down the road?
I think the common denominator in those 3 losses where we just need to be more physical and we need to execute the game plan. There were times where our physicality dropped in key situations, and that's ultimately what cost us a game.
Trey, you're in your junior season. You got one more to go at Burns High School. I know that you're getting offers and attention and looks from just about everybody all over the country. how important is it to you to stay home versus maybe that desire to stretch your legs a little bit and see what else is out there in other parts of the country?
I'm definitely getting out there. I want to see what everybody has to offer, not just because maybe just because I'm not how do I say this? I'm gonna be careful about this. I just want to see what everybody has to offer so that I know what I'm looking for. I would say I want to know what I'm looking for and what I want to see in the school.
Well,
and
Trey,
sometimes getting out helps me with that.
No, I'm with you 100%. Trey, great job Friday. Congratulations on being the Fan Upstate Player of the Week. Thanks for hopping on with us, and good luck the rest of the way, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Trey Segarra,
Good
255 yards.
And you can't know what you value until you've been able to experience what a lot of different places have to offer. You don't know exactly what it is you're looking for until you know what you're looking for. That's the end of the show today. Appreciate all of our guests for joining us. Jack Veltri, Trey Segarra, Michael Duarte of NBC LA joined us on the field from the World Series. How awesome was that? Tolos will be back to do it again tomorrow.